Recording in progress.
Session is called to order. Requesting everybody to please rise for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupit, di ka pasisingil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong baghaw, may nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidinig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng waraming pagsikta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga aking at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for the invocation to be led by the Honorable Representative City Amina de Maporo from the 2nd District of Lanao del Norte via Zoom.
Auzubillah minash-shaytan-nir-rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. God Almighty, guide us in our work today. Show us the way of your compassion and mercy in our endeavors as public servants. May you bless our country and our leaders with their enlightenment that our families, communities, municipalities, cities, and provinces remain safe from natural disasters and crime. Grant us courage to uphold the decency that allows diverse opinions to be heard and considered. Remind us of our moral obligation to value voices different from our own. For in your grace, you have bound us together as one nation, that we would bear witness to the faithfulness to be found in unity and not division, esteem and not enmity, love and not hatred. We pray that our work as legislators in the 19th Congress will lead to a better future for the next generation. All things we do are done in your name, as you are our benefactor. Amen.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we call the roll of members.
The Secretary General is directed To call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. Honorable Representatives Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Omentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Bilyones, Beron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulut Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jean, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizaldi, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco Jaime, Ko Juanco Mark, Colada, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cua, Quaresma, Dagoo, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo City Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gintu, Gulias, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Kunghun, Labad-Labad, Lakson, Lakson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Limkaychong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marinho, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles Juan Fidel, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Owaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Plato, Primicias Agabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rilio, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Ieda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sally, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richelle, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Suwansing Horacio, Suwansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villalago, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U Divina Grace, U Giselle Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 310 members responded to the call.
With 310 members responding to the call, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve Journal Number 25, dated November 8, 2022, and Journal Number 26, dated November 9, 2022.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Journal Number 25, dated November 8, 2022, and Journal Number 26, dated November 9, 2022, are hereby approved. Majority Leader.
I move that we now proceed with the reference of business and request the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bills and resolutions on first readings, as well as communications and committee reports.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the titles of bills and resolutions on first reading, as well as communications and committee reports for referral to the appropriate committees.
Reference of business bills on first reading. House Bill 5909, granting the Radio de Oro Corporation a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in Cagayan de Oro City and Misamis Oriental, Philippines, by Representative Imano.
To the Committee on Legislative Franchises.
House Bill 5910, granting the Cease Holding Corporation a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in Cagayan de Oro City and Misamis Oriental, by Representative Imano.
To the Committee on Legislative Franchises.
House Bill 5911, converting the Sindangan Extension Office of the LTO located in Sindangan, Zamboanga del Norte into a regular LTO district office, by Representative Labad-Labad.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 5912, establishing the Virology Institute of the Philippines, by Representative Gato.
To the Committee on Health and the Committee on Science and Technology.
House Bill 5913, creating the Philippine Center for Disease Control and Prevention, by Representative Gato.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 5914, banning the sale, distribution, and use of firecrackers and other pyrotechnic devices, by Representative Gatchalian.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 5915, authorizing LGUs to engage in banking activities and other financial transactions with private, universal, and/or commercial banks by Representative Gatchalian.
to the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries, and the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 5916, regulating the placement and content of billboards including their support structures by Representative Gatchalian.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 5917, providing for the automatic annual adjustment of the pensions of retirees from the government who are members of the GSIS by Representatives Plato and Momo.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 5918, creating the Special Mass Transit System Support Fund by Representative Gatchalian.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 5919, institutionalizing bamboo industry development in the Philippines, creating the Bamboo Industry Development Center by Representative Gatchalian.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 5920, establishing the Dr. Eleanor P. Lelis National Senior High School in Abo, Tigaon, Camarines Sur by Representative Fuentevela.
to the Committee on Education and Culture,
House Bill 5921, establishing a training and support services grant for Alzheimer's disease patients and their families by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 5922, expanding the number of disorders included in the newborn screening program by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 5923, establishing a health and education grant program related to autism spectrum disorders by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 5924, expanding the coverage of the mandatory basic immunization program and providing a system in the determination of other types of vaccine-preventable diseases by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 5925, improving the mental and behavioral health services in college and university campuses by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 5926, providing for a new passport law, repealing the Philippine Passport Act of 1996 by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Bill 5927, to develop and promote agricultural waste management in the Philippines by Representative Yat Christiantel.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 5928, establishing OFW's hospital and OFW care centers in all DOH retained hospitals by Representative Yap Christiantel.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 5929, declaring March 7 of every year a special non-working holiday in the province of Basilan in commemoration of its founding anniversary to be known as Araw ng Basilan and recognizing Tinun Pakaradyan as the official festival of Basilan Province by Representative Hataman.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 5930, adjusting the monthly pension and disability benefits of retirees of the DFA by Representative Ang.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Bill 5931, establishing the Western Visayas Regional Center for Geriatric Health in Bacolod City, Negros Occidental by Representative Goles.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 5932, rationalizing the purposes and application of the Special Education Fund by Representative Goles.
to the Committee on Local Government and the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 5933, creating one additional division in the National Labor Relations Commission, increasing the number of commissioners from 23 to 26 by Representative Goles.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 5934, amending Section 5 of RA 7610, or the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act by Representative Goles.
to the Committee on Welfare of Children,
House Bill 5935, establishing Santo Domingo National High School in Santo Domingo proper, Bambang, Nueva Vizcaya by Representative Quaresma.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 5940, requiring critical information infrastructure institutions to adopt and implement adequate measures to protect their ICT systems and infrastructure by Representative Romualdo.
to the Committee on Information and Communications Technology,
House Bill 5941, establishing the National Framework for Water Use Plan to provide accessible water supply for farmlands and ensure efficient national food security by Representatives Suarez and Villarasa Suarez.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 5942, declaring February 14 of every year as a special non-working public holiday in Calamba, Misamis Occidental to commemorate the Araw ng Calamba by Representative Almonte.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 5943, creating the 7th Sharia Judicial District in the Visayas region, creating therein 1 Sharia District Court to be stationed in Cebu City and 3 Sharia Circuit Courts to be stationed in Cebu City, Central Visayas, Tacloban City, Eastern Visayas, and Iloilo City, Western Visayas, by Representative Adjong.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 5944, establishing a transcendent unified government mobile application for government services, setting a framework and common standards for government mobile applications, by Representative Velasco and Singson Mihan.
to the Committee on Information and Communications Technology,
House Bill 5945, establishing the Philippine Virology Science and Technology Institute, by Representative Velasco and Singson Mihan.
to the Committee on Health and the Committee on Science and Technology,
House Bill 5946, providing for protection of the remittances of overseas Filipino workers, by Representative Velasco and Singson Mihan.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 5947, adjusting the monthly pension and disability benefits of retirees of the DFA, by Representative Albano.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Bill 5948, institutionalizing the assistance to individuals in crisis situation program of the DSWD, providing penalties for the violation of certain unlawful acts, by Representatives Vergara and Robes.
to the Committee on Social Services,
House Bill 5949, establishing Ciudad de Strike Integrated School in Molino 1, Bacoor, Cavite, by Representative Mercado Revilla.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 5950, declaring the immediate underwater environs of the Bien Unido Double Barrier Reef in Bien Unido, Bohol, a tourist destination, by Representative Aumentado.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 5951, establishing an extension office of the LTO in Ubay in the 2nd District of Bohol, by Representative Aumentado.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 5952, reverting to the national government the discharge of basic health services of the Davao Oriental Provincial Medical Center, by Representative Almario.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 5953, granting civil service eligibility and national certificate to OFWs, by Representative Sakaluran.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation, and the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 5964, declaring April 25 of every year a special non-working holiday in Isabela, Basilan, in commemoration of its founding anniversary, to be known as Araw ng Isabela de Basilan, Araw ng Sakayan, by Representative Hataman.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 5965, declaring July 8 of every year a special non-working holiday in Isabela, Basilan, in celebration of the Feast of Saint Elizabeth of Portugal, to be known as Fiesta Alegria de Isabela, by Representative Hataman.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 5975, regulating the registration, licensure, and practice of physical therapy, by Representative Dalog.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 5976, establishing the forest land boundary of the province of Mountain Province, by Representative Dalog.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 5977, creating the Department of Disaster Resilience, by Representative Corvera.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Disaster Resilience,
House Bill 5978, strengthening local disaster risk response and management offices by standardizing salary grade levels of disaster risk response and management officers and staff, by Representative Corvera.
to the Committee on Disaster Resilience,
House Bill 5979, establishing 3 additional subordinate fire stations in the city of General Santos under the General Santos City Fire Station of the BFP, by Representative Acharon.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 5980, granting the RSV Broadcasting Network Incorporated a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations throughout the Philippines, by Representative Gato.
to the Committee on Legislative Franchises,
House Bill 5981, institutionalizing the convergence strategy for sustainable rural development and providing implementing mechanisms therefore, by Representative Garcia Dante.
to the Committee on Rural Development,
House Bill 5982, establishing the Barangay Integrated Development Approach for nutrition improvement of the rural poor as a linkage program for all state universities and colleges and community colleges, by Representative Garcia Dante.
to the Committee on Rural Development,
House Bill 5983, promoting rural financial inclusion and literacy, by Representative Garcia Dante.
to the Committee on Rural Development,
House Bill 5984, creating two branches of the Regional Trial Court in the 10th Judicial Region to be stationed in Gingoog City, Misamis Oriental, by Representative Onabia.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 5985, providing for the mandatory appointment of provincial, city, and municipal environment and natural resources officer, by Representative Onabia.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 5986, providing for the construction of the Mabini-Mosangot Bridge connecting Barangay Mabini and Barangay Mosangot, located in Binuangan, Misamis Oriental, by Representative Onabia.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 5987, establishing the Zamboanga City 1st and 2nd District Engineering Offices, by Representative Dalipe.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 5988, establishing a separate district engineering office in Davao City to be known as the 3rd District Engineering Office, to have jurisdiction over the 46 barangays comprising the 2nd Legislative District, by Representative Garcia Vincent.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 5989, providing for the establishment of a Technical Education and Skills Development Center in Malabog, Pangibato District, located in the 2nd District of Davao City, by Representative Garcia Vincent.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 5990, establishing tourism circuits in the 2nd District of Samar, identifying and declaring the tourism development areas therein, creating the Samar Province Tourism Council, by Representative Tan Reynolds Michael.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 5991, establishing the Philippine Virology Science and Technology Institute, by Representative Teodoro.
to the Committee on Health and the Committee on Science and Technology,
House Bill 5992, providing for the modernization of the public health emergency preparedness and response capabilities, establishing the Center for Disease Prevention and Control, by Representative Teodoro.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 5993, amending Section 1 of RA 11490, transferring the 3rd District Engineering Office in Matalam, Cotabato, by Representative Santos.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 5994, exempting the system loss charge component in the sale of electricity by distribution companies and electric cooperatives from the coverage of the VAT, by Representatives Castro, France, Brosas, and Manuel.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 5995, classifying the sale of electricity by generation, transmission, and distribution companies and electric cooperatives, and the services of franchise grantees of electric utilities, and sale or importation of machinery and equipment directly used in generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity as VAT-exempt transactions, by Representatives Castro, France, Brosas, and Manuel.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 5996, classifying services rendered by tollway operators as VAT-exempt transactions, by Representatives Castro, France, Brosas, and Manuel.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 5997, classifying the services of franchise grantees of water utilities and sale or importation of machinery and equipment directly used in operating, maintaining, improving, and expanding distribution of portable water by water utilities as VAT-exempt transactions, by Representatives Castro, France, Brosas, and Manuel.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 5999, reapportioning the province of Bukidnon into 5 regular districts, by Representative Zubiri.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 6000, establishing a consular office of the DFA in Ormoc City, Leyte, by Representative Gomez.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Bill 6001, to ensure gender-responsive and inclusive protocols and programming to address the gender-differentiated needs of women during public health emergencies, public health threats, disasters, and other health events of public concern, by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 6002, creating the National Museum of Filipino Women, by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 6003, prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity or expression, by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 6004, promoting women participation and representation in and by political parties, giving incentives therefore, creating the Women in Political Parties Empowered Fund, by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 6005, creating a national women's business enterprise policy and prescribing arrangements for developing, coordinating, and implementing a national program for women's enterprise, by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 6006, establishing the Women's Health Research Center, by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 6007, establishing a refuge and assistance center for young pregnant women in every province, city, and municipality of the Philippines, by Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 6008, establishing Summer Island Institute of Medicine in the Summer State University in Catbalogan City, Samar, by Representative Tan Reynolds Michael.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 6009, providing for the Magna Carta for barangays, by Representative Plato.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 6010, providing for a more responsive and comprehensive regulation for the licensing, registration, certification, and practice of environmental and sanitary engineers, environmental and sanitary engineering technologists, and environmental and sanitary engineering technicians in the Philippines, by Representative Kong Hoon.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 6011, establishing a safe pathways network of bicycle lanes and slow streets, by Representative Lee.
to the Committee on Transportation,
Resolutions. The House Resolution 532, expressing heartfelt sympathy and condolences to the family of Danny Morales Javier, by Representative Gomez.
to the Committee on Rules,
House Resolution 533, congratulating and commending Kimberly Ann Custodio for winning in the 2022 Jiu-Jitsu International Federation World Championship held in Abu Dhabi, UAE on November 2, 2022, by Representative Gomez.
to the Committee on Youth and Sports Development,
House Resolution 534, directing the appropriate committees of the House to conduct an urgent joint investigation on the failure of the Philippine Maritime Schools to comply with the provisions of the International Convention on Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping for Seafarers, by Representatives Juan, Onabia, and Imano.
to the Committee on Rules,
House Resolution 535, congratulating Kimberly Ann Custodio for winning the gold medal in the 2022 JJIF Jiu-Jitsu World Championship held in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, UAE. By Representative Ang.
to the Committee on Youth and Sports Development,
House Joint Resolution 12, calling for a constitutional convention to propose amendments to or revision of the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, by Representative Rodriguez Rufus.
to the Committee on Constitutional Amendments,
Committee reports. Committee report numbers 161, 163, 164, 165, 166, 168, submitted by the Committee on Tourism on House Bill numbers 598, 6014, 6015, 6016, 6017, and 6072, respectively. Committee report number 162, submitted by the Committee on Local Government on House Bill number 6013. Committee report number 167, submitted by the Committee on Basic Education and Culture on House Bill number 6069.
The aforementioned committee reports are referred to the Committee on Rules.
Additional reference of business. Resolutions. House Resolution 536, congratulating and commending Alexandra May Rosales for being crowned as Miss Supermodel Worldwide 2022 during the pageant's coronation night held in Jaipur, India, last Saturday, October 15, 2022, by Representative Hernandez.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 537, congratulating and commending Michael Harris Conlin for winning silver in the signature coffee latte category and bronze in the signature coffee brewer category at the 2022 Global Coffee Championship held in Kintex, South Korea, by Representative Hernandez.
To the Special Committee on Creative Industry and Performing Arts.
House Resolution 538, congratulating and commending Kimberly Ann Custodio for winning the gold medal in the 2022 JJIF Jiu-Jitsu World Championship Women's Adult 45 kilogram category by Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Resolution 539, congratulating and commending Maggie Ochoa for winning the gold medal in the 2022 JJIF Jiu-Jitsu World Championship Women's Adult 48 kilogram category by Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Resolution 540, congratulating and commending Samantha Katantan for winning the gold medal in the Senior Women's Foil event at the 2022 Garrett Open hosted by the Pennsylvania State University by Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Resolution 541, congratulating and commending Vince Rafael Apariano of OAS Albay for winning the championship of the 6th Eastern Asia Youth Chess Championship in Bangkok, Thailand, by Representatives Salceda and De Los Santos.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Resolution 542, congratulating and commending chess prodigy Vince Rafael Apariano for being hailed as champion in the recently concluded 6th Eastern Asia Youth Chess Championship by Representatives Ko, Elizalde, and Bongalon.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge the guests of the Honorable Representative Edwin Olivares, the former Congressman, now Mayor Eric Olivares.
The guests of Congressman Olivares are welcome to the House of Representatives.
Also, Mr. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge also the guests of Representative Coco Muyab, number 1, John Flores Sunga, Ms. Erlinda Sarenas, Mr. Gertrudes Mayol, and Mr. Manolo Servo, all of the from Sugod, Southern Leyte.
We acknowledge the presence of the guests of the Honorable Christopher Yap from Sugod, Southern Leyte. Welcome, maayong pag-abot sa House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, today being a Monday, and pursuant to our rules, I move that we open the privilege hour.
A motion to declare a privilege hour. Is there any objection? Chair is none. The Chair declares a privilege hour. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the representative from the 1st District of Parañaque, the Honorable Representative Edwin L. Olivares, be recognized to avail the privilege hour.
The Honorable Edwin Olivares of the 1st District of Parañaque is recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Majority floor. Magandang araw po, Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues, and thank you for this opportunity to address this august body on a matter of personal and collective privilege. This is all about the national heritage, our beloved Manila Bay. For centuries, the Manila Bay has helped shape the destiny of this country. Ito po ang duyan ng ating bansa na nagaruga, nagkaloob sa atin ng sobrang likas ng yaman. Likas ng yamang sapat upang tayo ay makalika na isang maunlad at magiting na bansang Pilipinas. The Manila Bay has been providing us with all kinds of opportunities. It is rich in fishing ground, it is teeming with marine resources, and its deep harbor is perfect for shipping and commerce. Yet for all its gifts to our nation and our people, we have taken this bay for granted. It has been polluted, exploited, neglected. Once a favorite swimming and leisure destination, it is now smelly, full of trust and filth, and has been declared unfit for swimming. Bakit po nagkaganito? Isa marahil sa mga dahilan ay napakalawak ng Manila Bay. It has a surface of 1,870 square kilometers and a coastline of 190 kilometers. Sinasaklaw nito ang tatlong pinakamayayamang rehiyon ng bansa, ang Region 3 o Central Luzon, ang Region 4A o Calabarzon, at siyempre ang ating National Capital Region o yung NCR. Dahil dito, hindi malinaw kung sino nga ba o kung merong bang may solong karapatan sa Manila Bay. Dahil napakarami na gumagamit ito at nakikinabang. Ito ay tinuturing ng nating para sa kalahatan. However, the status of Manila Bay as a resource for everyone also means it is also being exploited and abused by almost everyone without any dedicated government agencies to protect and manage it. Hindi naman puligid sa ating kaalaman na napakadaming water tributaries katulad ng creek and river na papunta sa Manila Bay. At kita rin po natin na meron pa tayong mga kababayan na mga informal settler sa tabi ng mga tributaries na ito na dapat bigyan po ng pansin at pagbigyan ng maayos na relocation. At hindi lang rin po yan, doon po sa ating mga water concessionaire. It is written on the agreement na kailangan yung tubig for discharge ay dapat malinis bago lumabas sa ating creek, papuntang river, papunta sa Manila Bay. At dahil nga po sa patuloy na paglubha ng polusyon ng Manila Bay, noong December 2008, ay naglabas ang Korte Suprema ng Writ of Continuing Mandamus kung saan inatasan nito ang iba-ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan, kabilang na mga local government unit at maging ang pribadong sektor na linisin ang Manila Bay. The Supreme Court Mandamus directed concerned government agencies and private entities to clean up, rehabilitate, preserve, restore, and maintain the waters of the Manila Bay to a level that is fit for swimming, skin diving, and other forms of contact recreation. Kailangan pang makialam ang Korte Suprema sa usapin ng Manila Bay. Bakit? Malinaw po ang kasagutan. Walang namamahala o nangangalaga sa Manila Bay. Kanya-kanya tayong kuha na pakinabang mula sa Manila Bay. Kanya-kanya di tayong tapon ng basura sa nasabing bay. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, it is about time that we correct this grave mistake and neglect. We have used Manila Bay for centuries, and it may also take centuries to restore it, what the Supreme Court described as level fit for swimming, skin diving, and other forms of contact recreation. It is not too late to do this. This representation, therefore, proposes that Congress enact a law creating the Manila Bay Development Authority to promote and accelerate the sustainable development of Manila Bay to ensure the maintenance of its ecological balance and to protect and enhance its natural resources. Among the natural resources in Manila Bay that need special protection include the Las Piñas Parañaque Wetland Park, formerly known as the Las Piñas Parañaque Critical Habitat and Ecotourism Area, which is the last mangrove forest in Metro Manila. The Las Piñas Parañaque Wetland Park is unique that he has been recognized by the Ramsar Convention of UNESCO, formerly known as the Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, as internationally significant and thus must be protected. The entire Manila Bay also needs to be protected from various reclamation projects. And what about the dangers posed by climate change? Nakikita naman natin at nararamdaman ang matitinding bagyong pumapasok sa ating bansa at may mga pangamba din ukol sa pagtaas ng level ng tubig sa ating mga karagatan. Handa ba tayo dito? Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, there are perhaps 1,000 other reasons to create a dedicated agencies for the protection and restoration of Manila Bay. But there is only one institution capable of making this happen, and this is the Congress of the Philippines. This is our solemn duty and obligation to this nation and to the Filipino people. Once again, tayo po ay humingi ng inyong tulong at suporta. Let us pass a law creating the Manila Bay Development Authority. Maraming salamat po at magandang araw muli sa atin lahat.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Olivares to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge the guest of Representative Florida Rida Robes of the Lone District, City of San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, her guest from the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Office of Bulacan, City Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office of the City of San Jose del Monte and Malolos City, Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office of the municipalities of Bustos, Pulilan, San Miguel, Plaridel, and Marilao, Bulacan, and their respective family members of the Bulacan Five, namely Felicissima Mungkal, Maria Luisa Tapican, Jericon Mendoza, Mina Paula Crizel Bartolome, Jessa Agustin, Nancy Agustin, Ayla Marie Condes, Michelle Resurrection, Ferdinand Calayag, Kirten Lirio Calayag, Imelda Agustin, Angela Joy Agustin, Gina Aison, Josa May Chan, Marjeline Florentino, Iya Ocampo, Ella May Reyes, Evangeline Montebon, Silito Florentino, Paul Monching Santos, Katrina Pia Pedro, Michelle Pata, Jimmy De Guzman, Arceli M. Leonardo, Stanley Dan Adriano, Kimberly G. Arino, Doma Angela De Guzman, Manny R. Garcia, Den Michael Pablo, Emmanuel Zabat, John Nico Pablo, Jefferson Camua, Dorothy Bonifacio, Neri Bonifacio, Aizel Oclarit, Garino Lopez, and Christian Dizon. Mr. Speaker.
We acknowledge the guests of the Honorable Florida Robes from the Lone District of San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, the guests from Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Office of Bulacan City, Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office of the City of San Jose del Monte and Malolos City, Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office of the municipalities of Bustos, Pulilan, San Miguel, Plaridel, and Marilao, Bulacan, and the respective family members of the Bulacan 5. We welcome you to the House of Representatives. Welcome. The Chair would like to declare 1 minute suspension to allow our guests to interact with our members. Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the representative from the Lone District of San Jose del Monte City, Bulacan, the Representative Florida Rida Robes, to avail of the privileged hour.
The Honorable Florida Rida Robes from the Lone District of San Jose del Monte City is recognized to avail of the privileged hour.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Majority Floor Leader. Mr. Speaker, distinguished members of the august body, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, I will be delivering a privileged speech about uniting the Filipino spirit for climate change, resilience, and disaster preparedness. In the aftermath of Super Typhoon Carding, this representation would like to spark an honest dialogue to 3 inconvenient yet vital truths that affect our nation and humanity as a whole. Number 1, first, the pressing and urgent need to strengthen our policies on the environmental protection and adapting to climate change. Number 2, our rescuers who our local risk disaster management rely on during disasters are employed as mere casual employees and underpaid and receive little protection. And number 3, our third country's defense and resilience to the effects of the destructive effects of climate change also lean on the efforts of volunteers. This representation can attest the devastating flood caused by Super Typhoon Carding is unparalleled and alarming. In the province of Bulacan alone, significant areas in San Miguel, San Ildefonso, and San Rafael, areas not typically prone to flooding, were engulfed in deep floodwater in the onslaught of Carding. The Bible tells us the story of Noah, who was mocked for building an ark when no flood was apparent. And we all know what happened in the end. Today, we signs of the catastrophic effect of climate change are slowly shown to us. A 1999 study reveals that the majority of the areas along the coast of Manila Bay, specifically Cavite, Metro Manila, and Bulacan, could succumb to a 1-meter sea level rise by the year 2100. Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, this study was more than 2 decades ago. Nakakakilabot na ito ang realidad na dinadanas natin ngayon. Inelamentable and alarming to know what the Philippines, in terms of global metrics, ranked second in the 2018 Climate Risk Index among countries heavily affected by extreme weather events, and 111th out of 180 nations in 2020 Environmental Performance Index, which is known as EPI. Our country suffers great economic loss, around $3.5 billion based on World Bank estimates yearly due to natural calamities. We can definitely feel the economic devastation of climate change. To illustrate, recently Carding alone destroyed at least 160.1 million worth of high-value crops. No less than 5,239 Bulaqueños, 1,571 families, including 1,447 children, and 231 seniors were displaced and forced to evacuate to escape the onslaught of Carding. 6 people were killed in Bulacan, ironically, 5 of whom were veteran rescuers of the Bulacan Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office, or the PDRRMO. Climate change is no longer imminent. We are already in a state of climate emergency. Our President, Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., addressed the United Nations General Assembly almost 2 months ago. Allow me to quote the President. "We are the 4th most vulnerable country to climate change. This injustice must be corrected, and those who need to do more act now. We accept our share of responsibility and will continue to do our part to avert this collective disaster." This representation stands with the President. With this in mind, this representation respectfully urges my esteemed colleagues to heed these warning signs and legislate measures protecting our environment against the rapid effect of climate change and preparing our people and communities for climate change resilience. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to move on my second and third points. Countless storms have passed, yet the courage of rescuers of our national and local disaster risk reduction and management councils and civil society volunteers remain unbreakable and indomitable. Yet, it is unconscionable that our laws are inadequate to protect them. Allow me to recognize the bereaved families of Jerson Resurrection, who happens to be from San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, Narciso Calayag, Marvy Bartolome, George and Troy Jasin Agustin, who are with us today. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagpunta. Also with us today are the representatives of the different local disaster risk reduction and management of the province of Bulacan, the unsung heroes during the emergencies and calamities. Maraming salamat pong muli, Bulaqueño. The Bulacan 5 died in the line of duty and service to our country. There were ordinary men who have shown extraordinary acts of service. Hindi lingid sa ating kaalaman na ang ating mga rescuers ay hindi supisyente ang kinikita sa kanilang pagod. Alam po natin ito lahat. Kaya naman ang representanteng ito ay nanawagan na mabigyan ng aksyon na maiayos ang problemang ito. Our country heavily relies on an emergency sector composed of casuals, job orders, and volunteers in times of crisis. Ito yung panahon na hindi dapat natin talikuran ang mga tao na hindi tayo kailanman tinalikuran sa bingid ng sakuna at delubyo. Tayo po ay patuloy na mananindigan para sa kanila. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, again, it is my hope that you will support measures advancing the welfare of our disaster risk and emergency respondents and our volunteers. I shall end my privileged speech with this quote from former U.S. President John F. Kennedy. Never before has man made a such great capacity to control his own environment, to end hunger, poverty, and disease, to banish illiteracy and human misery. We have the power to make the best generation of mankind in the history of the world. With a united Filipino spirit, we start to build that shared future of resilience and prosperity today. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay tayong lahat. At bago po ako magwakas, Mr. Speaker, ang Bulacan 5 po, 10 po ng aming mga kalalawigan sa Bulacan, kasama po si Governor Daniel Fernando, ay nagpapasalamat sa ating birthday celebrant dahil siya po ay talagang tumugon sa ating lahat, kasama po si Congresswoman Yeda Romualdez. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Representative Florida Rida Robes to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
There's a motion to refer the privileged speech to the Committee on Rules. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize the gentleman from the 3rd District of Camarines Sur, the Representative Gabriel H. Bordado Jr., be recognized to avail the privilege hour.
The gentleman from the 3rd District of Camarines Sur, the Honorable Representative Gabriel Bordado Jr., is recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege to bring to the attention of this august body the growing concerns about the impending global recession. As defined by the Oxford Languages, and I quote, "Recession is a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced by a fall in gross domestic product, or GDP, in 2 successive quarters," unquote. Mr. Speaker, a global recession, according to Investopedia, is an extended period of economic decline around the world. Of course, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Philippines, just like the other countries of the world, suffered devastating recession. According to economic expert Rajiv Biswas, the Philippine economy recorded the largest decline ever since the start of the National Accounts Data Series of 1946. Yet, Mr. Speaker, the country somehow survived, but not after incurring more than 13 trillion pesos in debts. When the overall situation considerably improved and the economy gradually reopened, the gross domestic product has been steadily bouncing back. In fact, Mr. Chairman, the Philippine GDP expanded by 7.6%, the 6th consecutive GDP growth since the second quarter of 2021, compared to the level last year, outpacing the projection of 6.3% made by most economic analysts. This prompted a national business columnist to declare that, and I quote, "As observed by many, the Marcos administration seems to be on the right track in boosting economic growth amid global inflation that has led to increased prices of fuel and other basic commodities, unquote. Mr. Speaker, the local inflation rate, however, jacked up to 7.7% in October, the highest rate in 14 years, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, or the PSA. No less than the President himself said, as quoted by a major periodical, and I quote, "The ballooning inflation rate in the country is still a great concern," noting that his administration remains very conscious of the Filipinos' cost of living, unquote. In other words, Mr. Speaker, wala pang global recession ngayon, ngunit ramdam na ng karamihan sa ating mga kababayan ang matinding kahirapan. Prices of basic commodities have significantly increased. Meat products used to cost 180 pesos per kilo last year, now cost 280 pesos up to 350 pesos per kilo. Some canned goods, which used to cost 150 pesos, now cost 230 pesos. Even the once lowly galunggong is now 250 pesos per kilo. Already, Mr. Speaker, the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, issued a warning that the Philippines may face shocks next year from global economic slowdown, and that for many people, 2023 will feel like a global recession. Oxford Economics, which has an outstanding record of forecasting accuracy, had projected our GDP growth rate at 3.3% next year from 6.1% this year. Mr. Speaker, we do need to protect our people from the impact of the global recession, as well as the real and direct consequences of an economy that is very vulnerable to the shocks caused by global conflict, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and the worsening climate crisis spawning extreme weather events and calamities. As a country highly dependent on imported commodities, we are vulnerable to such external forces. Mr. Speaker, as of August this year, our balance of trade reached a record high deficit of $6 billion, while it narrowed down to $4.8 billion in September. Our continued negative balance of trade only highlights the fact that we need to seriously come up with measures to address self-sufficiency, food security, and lesser dependence on imports. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I would like to offer a few humble practical suggestions on how we, as legislators and as citizens of this country, can lessen the impact of an impending recession. First, Mr. Speaker, increase community-based food security programs and drive local economic activities by building post-harvest support and value chain enhancement for agricultural and fishery sectors in the provinces. Second, and ensure that local government units are able to efficiently use the increase in their funds from the Mandanas-Garcia ruling for credit, crop storage, processing, transportation, marketing, trading support, and other programs that drive local economic activities in the rural areas. And third, Mr. Speaker, substantially strengthen and support our micro, small, and medium enterprises, which constitute 99.58% of the total business establishments in the Philippines. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I believe these are very doable steps in lessening the impact of the impending global recession. That is, if ever it crops up in 2023. Mr. Speaker, we need to plan, and the time is now. To borrow the words of Sir Winston Churchill, and I quote, "He who fails to plan is planning to fail," unquote. Let us not fail our kababayans. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Gabriel Bordado to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection to the motion? The chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Before we proceed, Mr. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge the guests of Congresswoman Jervil Luistro of the 2nd District of Batangas, the municipal councilors of Municipality of Mabini, Batangas, namely Honorable Mary Sweet Magnaye, Nelson Hernandez, Sunny De Leon, Richard Diesa, Jojo Bueno, Catalino Boyet Arago, and former Vice Mayor, the Honorable Pablo Jun Villanueva Jr., and the barangay captains of Municipality of Mabini, Batangas, namely Guillermo Guerra, Mervin Husi, Braulio Husi, Perfecto de Austria, Domingo de Guzman, Efren Ramos, Nelson Castillo, Pablito Aguilion, Eleuterio Dalisay, Avelina Villanueva, Raimundo Magsino, Marilyn Veloso, Alex Manalo, Policarpio Magtibay, Edgardo Castillo, Fe Castillo, Anacleto Isla, and Cristito Gonzalez.
We would like to acknowledge the presence of the guests of our representative from the 2nd District of Batangas, Gervil Luistro. Welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Representative Gervil Luistro from the 2nd District of Batangas to avail the privilege hour.
The lady from the 2nd District of Batangas, Representative Gervil Luistro, is recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, esteemed officers and members of this august chamber, to our guests, a pleasant afternoon to all of you. I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege. This is a report on the Diving Equipment and Marketing Association, or the DIMA Show 2022, held last 1 to 4 of November 2022 at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida, USA. This representation had the privilege of being invited by the Department of Tourism, through our esteemed Secretary, Christina Frasco, and the Philippine Tourism Promotion Board, through COO Marga Nograles, to be part of the Philippine delegation to the said show. The annual DIMA show is the largest event for companies doing business in scuba diving, ocean water sports, and adventure or dive travel industries. It attracts hundreds of exhibitors and thousands of dive and travel industry professionals from around the world. On a personal note, I am very much delighted to be part of the delegation. I am from the town of Mabini in the southern tip of the province of Batangas. Significantly, this town hosts the prominent and world-famous Anilao, the birthplace of scuba diving in the Philippines. Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has ravaged the Philippine tourism industry. It caused the closure or suspension of operations of hotels, resorts, and tourist destinations. It resulted to the loss of thousands of jobs and livelihood. It contributed to the economic crunch the country is presently experiencing. In sending a Philippine delegation to the DIMA Show 2022, we achieved the objective of marketing not only the country's dive sites, but also the country as a whole. Mr. Speaker, I had an active participation and even had the opportunity to address the participants at the DIMA Show 2022. I invited every one of them to visit, dive, explore, and enjoy one of the most diverse, one of the most productive, and arguably the most beautiful dive site in the entire planet. That is the Verde Island Passage. The Verde Island Passage is a 1.14 million hectare strait that separates the island of Luzon, the biggest Philippine landmass, from the southwestern island of Mindoro. When marine experts and conservationists talk about the Verde Island Passage, one would often hear that it is the center of marine shorefish biodiversity. But what does this really mean? Dive enthusiasts are familiar with the Coral Triangle. This is an area in the waters of the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, and Timor-Leste. It is the Amazon of the ocean. It hosts more than 500 species of reef-building corals, a third of the world's coral reef fish species, and 6 of the world's 7 species of sea turtles. The center of the Coral Triangle of this entire biodiverse area is none other than the Verde Island Passage. It is situated in the provinces of Batangas, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, Marinduque, Romblon, and the proposed inclusion of the province of Quezon. The Verde Island Passage is thus the center of the most diverse marine ecosystem in the world. I will have to emphasize that most of these aquatic animals are considered to be threatened species. The VIP has not been spared from the destruction brought about by climate change and marine pollution. Our government, our leaders, our community, and the Filipino people as a whole have been very serious and determined in our efforts to protect the VIP. We have been diligent in preserving its wealth of marine resources, highly diverse coral reefs, pristine waters, mangrove forests, seagrass meadows, and the coastal environs. Mr. Speaker, I sincerely believe that a tourism promotional campaign, part of which I had a first-hand opportunity to experience in the 2022 DIMA, would not only benefit local tourism, but also our environmental preservation efforts. On the local front, I aspire to see a convergence program of the DOT on one hand and the livelihood and sustainability programs of the Department of Labor and Employment and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority on the other hand. They should be able to provide proper training programs, including certification to, among others, our local divers, boatmen, tour guides, and even resort employees. This would raise the standard of living of our constituents and, in effect, transform our locals into tourism professionals. On a final note, Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to seek the support of this august chamber for the immediate passage of House Bill number 6089, which seeks to declare the Verde Island Passage in the provinces of Batangas, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, Marinduque, and Romblon as an ecotourism site. Article 2, Section 16 of our Constitution declares, the state shall protect and advance the right of the people to a balanced and healthful ecology in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature. Likewise, Republic Act 9593 declares tourism as an indispensable element of the national economy and an industry of national interest and importance, which must be harnessed as an engine of socio-economic growth and cultural affirmation to generate investment, foreign exchange and employment, and to continue to mold an enhanced sense of national pride for all Filipinos. Mr. Speaker, this representation is rising the torch that through the participation of legislators in conferences like the DIMA Show 2022, in coordination with our esteemed government agencies and with the passage of this legislative measure through the assistance of the DOT, the VIP will be able to foster a tourism industry that is ecologically stable, responsible, participative, culturally sensitive, economically viable, and equitably beneficial to local and international communities. Finally, allow me to once again acknowledge the presence of 24 honorable barangay captains, 6 honorable Sangguniang Bayan members, former vice mayor, and distinguished friends from my hometown, the municipality of Mabini, Batangas. These are the very people who stood firm behind this representation's congressional bid in the last concluded election. My fellow members of the 19th Congress, thank you for joining me in welcoming them to the House of Representatives. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Jervil Luistro to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection to the motion to refer? The chair hears none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from the 3rd District of Quezon City, Franz Pumaren, to avail the privileged hour.
The gentleman from the 3rd District of Quezon City, the Honorable Representative Franz Pumaren, is recognized to avail of the privileged hour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues and guests, a pleasant afternoon to everyone. Before I start my privileged speech, I would like to take this opportunity to greet our House Speaker, Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, a happy birthday, wishing you peace, prosperity, and progress all the time in your work. Thank you for all the hard work. Mr. Speaker, I stand before this august chamber on a matter of personal and collective privilege concerning the recent brawl in the Phil Oil arena. Before I proceed, I would like to inform this chamber that during this speech, I will be showing sensitive videos that may disturb some viewers. Last November 8 at 3:22 p.m. was a sad day for Philippine basketball. It pains me to watch what transpired during the NCAA season 98 game between Jose Rizal University and De La Salle College of St. Benilde, Manila. If you could watch the video.
Grab a hold of John Amores. Oh no, Amores wanting to go after a fan and punches being thrown here. Oh no.
All players, please proceed to the shaded area in front of your respective benches. Both teams are advised to observe proper bench and decorum.
Mr. Speaker, as we can see in the video, a JRU heavy bomber player instigated a scuffle. The player from JRU threw punches to 3 players of St. Benilde, causing the game to be halted for the safety of players, coaches, and audience. On November 9 at 4:15 p.m., the National Collegiate Athletic Association released an official statement giving a 1-game suspension to 1 player from CSB Benilde and 8 players from JRU. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, 2 players from CSB, 2 players from JRU were also prohibited from playing 2 games for disrespecting the management committee of the NCAA. As for the JRU player who instigated the scuffle between two institutions, he was given an indefinite suspension of committing several troubles to the referees, MANCON representatives, and court officials. With this, Mr. Speaker, I would like to commend the Management Committee of the NCA for their swift action regarding the unpleasant incident. The penalties that they imposed were in accordance with the rules and regulations. However, Mr. Speaker, I do not understand how the Management Committee of the NCA and school officials could let this incident happen again. Did the school officials even call the attention from his first assault case? What were the measures that they did to discipline this player? Did they even act on this or call his attention? Upon researching, Mr. Speaker, universities usually imposes penalties of those who are found guilty of misconduct. Some universities penalize students with suspension for not more than 30 calendar days. However, for the second offense, the student shall already be subject to expulsion. Mr. Speaker, this is to give you a rundown of the past on-court violence. Last July 26, during the University and Colleges Basketball League Invitational Tournament, the same player was caught in a scandal, throwing a haymaker at one of the university players. The player from UP was only 18 years old when this occurred, and it was reported that this player suffered from busted lips and gums, requiring surgeries and stitches. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, last September 14, the same player from JRU was also involved in another scuffle during the game between Letran Knights and JRU Heavy Bombers. The same player taunted another player from Letran, engaging in a fist fight. It is alarming how the player from JRU has a history of pattern on-court violence with the last 5 months from different basketball leagues. With these unfortunate events in the Collegiate Basketball League, Mr. Speaker, I believe that it is high time to revisit the rules and regulations of every Philippine basketball league. We must lift the matches standards, rules, and regulations to avoid these brawls. Apart from this, Mr. Speaker, I also hope that the organizers of these leagues will select better security management or bouncers. The people should go through meticulous screening process as we are talking about the safety of the students and crowd here. Dapat nag-investigate ang mga liga na mas mahigpit na security dahil hindi lamang ang players ang pwede masaktan, pati po ang nasa crowd. With this being said, Mr. Speaker, I recommend that the organizers and management in any sports community in the Philippines to review its rules and policies to avoid these unfortunate events. Let us encourage them to hire and select better security management committees to avoid further damage in the future. Huwag na natin antayin pa na mangyari sa ibang liga. Dapat lang bawat membro din na sasali sa liga ay sumailalim din sa isang mental and physical health check-up. Dapat meron silang clearance sa kanilang doktor na sila ay mentally and physically fit to play these games. If walang clearance mula sa kanilang mga doktor na sila ay mentally at physically fit na maglaro, dapat hindi sila payagan. Dapat ang mga coaches ay hikayatin ng ating mga players na mapagtingin o kumausap ng isang life coach kung nakakaramdam ng pressure o kung anuman ang makakatulong sa kanila. Mr. Speaker, nowadays, with the advent of social media, these players must be feeling a lot of pressure not only to play well inside the court but also to perform academically. Mr. Speaker, I would like to call the attention of the coaches and officials of the JRU. Several videos have been circulating on every social media platform wherein players from JRU were caught dancing after the said brawl between the players from JRU and CSB. Mr. Speaker, if you look closely in the clip, there was a school official passing by the players of JRU who were dancing. It is very disturbing how the school officials or coaches of JRU did not even stop them from doing this. Were they proud of what their teammate did to the point that they were dancing as if it was not a grave matter? Is this how they discipline their players? It's such a shame if this is how they train and discipline their players. Mr. Speaker, in any event that violent acts are involved, it should always be understood that the gravity of the situation is a serious matter. Dapat nung una pa lang, tinigil na ng coaches yung mga ginagawa ng players nila. Why do they have to act as if they were mocking the players of CSB? Instead of their coaches trying to stop them, they were enabling them to have fun as if what happened earlier was not serious at all. As we all know, Mr. Speaker, social media is easily accessed by everyone nowadays. Kids may have seen this video already. Based on this video, it is not pleasing to the eyes of the people, especially the younger ones, who adore and watch basketball games as well. It is not a good example for future generations. We should not enable future generations to think they are okay to engage in such brutal acts. I hear should be no place for violence in any event, especially sports. Mr. Speaker, as a former player and coach of the Philippine Basketball Association and Collegiate Basketball League, I hope that this incident will be a learning experience for them not to repeat the same mistakes that have been committed. Basketball is one of the sources of national pride of our country, and we should not tolerate these acts. Mr. Speaker, if I may share, as a former coach, I am proud to say that I was able to mold and impact the lives of my players. One good example of this would be no other than Congressman Faustino Mike D., who was my former player back then. Look at how he turned into a great player in court and now a congressman in the House of Representatives representing the 5th District of Isabela. This is a friendly reminder to my colleagues that as coaches, we must guide them during their ups and downs. As coaches, we will play a vital role in shaping the future of our players. They are the ones who impart knowledge and teach them about ethical values and imbibe them in their moral values. It also, the coach's duty to be aware of the pressure of our players must be dealing with, whether during the game, in their personal lives, in their academic field. Once we accepted this job as a coach, we already accepted that these players are our responsibility. We should take the necessary steps to ensure the health of our players, both mentally and physically. And another point, Mr. Speaker, another former player of mine is now the mayor of San Juan, Mayor Francis Zamora, who, by the way, the sisters are here. Mr. Speaker, I want to reiterate to the school officials and management committee of every Philippine sport to use these unfortunate events as an example, not to repeat its history. The main objective of this speech is not to point finger at the player of the JRU or school officials, but I hope that this will serve as a teaching point to give better mental health opportunities to student and athlete. The coaches, school official, and management committee should have the initiative to open discussion like this between their players and students. It is important to build an understanding of the fact that mental issues affect people from all walks of life. It is also vital for schools to understand that each athlete and student must be physically and mentally healthy. If the coaches are already aware of the players not in the right frame of mind to play, they should take necessary steps not to let the player play. This school should take the opportunity to promote and offer mental health awareness among athletes and students. There should not be any stigma in asking for help, support, or guidance, as it's only natural for a person's character development, especially for students and athletes who are dealing with a lot of pressure. These students, athletes, should be reminded that they are reflections of the coaches and school where they came from. I also hope that the player from JRU will own up to his mistakes and apologize for what he has caused in the past few months. Yes, we may have heard of statements from the parties involved, but this player has yet to take accountability and apologize to the players he has hurt, affected, and even traumatized. So we can see the statement of the coach of the CSB, ni up to now, Mr. Speaker, na hindi man lang nag-apologize to the players. The coach of the CSB even stated that it would be nice to receive an apology from the JRU player. In my end note here, Mr. Speaker, I hope every school management, committee, coaches, and official will hear me out and try to preserve the true meaning of sportsmanship, camaraderie in every game. And for them to consider both the physical and mental well-being of their players. Violence is never an option to solve any problem. Muli, maraming salamat po at magandang hapon po.
Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker,
what is the pleasure of the gentleman from Cavite?
would our good friend from Quezon City be willing to be subjected to certain interpellation?
Mr. Speaker, more than welcome po.
You may proceed.
Firstly, Mr. Speaker, we know for a fact that our colleague who has just delivered his privileged speech is actually an authority in this subject. Having been a former basketball player, a former coach, my only inquiries would be, number one, insofar as the player is concerned, what does our distinguished colleague envision as the proper penalty for the player involved?
Mr. Speaker, if I may, I think the NCAA already announced there's the suspension of the said player, indefinite suspension. So basically, my intention here is to be the platform for what's been happening in college basketball.
Will it be a correct interpretation, Mr. Speaker, that insofar as the NCAA has already issued the penalty of suspension, it will cover only the games involving or under the auspices of the NCAA, but excluding the other leagues in the Philippines?
Mr. Speaker, yes, indefinite suspension playing in the NCAA.
So in other words,
that's a very good point, Mr. Speaker.
so in other words, if the player involved would apply for any team in the UAAP, assuming that he is really a very good player, he can qualify to play, notwithstanding what he has done.
Yes, technically, Mr. Speaker, yes. That's why we're also calling the Samha SBP to make their assessment of what transpired.
What about the coaches, the coach, and the other team officials involved? What is the suggestion of our distinguished colleague regarding the penalty to be meted to them?
Well, actually, Mr. Speaker, they were not penalized, the coaches. My idea here of my privileged speech is to enlighten them that their foremost priority is to mold their players, hindi yung win at all cost. They should try to at least discipline their own players.
Would our distinguished guest, would our distinguished colleague admit the fact that, as we have seen, there are coaches using dirty tactics, asking their players to do dirty tricks in order to win?
Mr. Speaker, I totally agree with that. That's why I have no respect to those coaches. You know, you can ask your player to play physical, but to the point of teaching them to hurt their opponents, for me, they should have no place in coaching.
Mr. Speaker, does our colleague agree with the observation that coaches should be also equally liable and should be given the corresponding penalty?
I 100% agree with that because they're the ones who are supposed to be making sure that everybody's mentally fit, and they should be the one conducting those disciplinary actions.
What about the schools?
I think, Mr. Speaker, it's the same thing. If there's already a signal or a red flag already, that the coaches are tolerating those kind of behaviors, I think the school officials should call the attention of the coaches.
Well, Mr. Speaker, does our colleague agree that insofar as games are concerned, pag medyo nagkakainitan na, alam ng mga coaches kung ano ang nangyayari. At dapat ilalabas na nila yung mga player nila o kaya dapat mag-time out muna sila in order to give the proper advice to the players. Will that not be a correct approach in order to avoid cases like this?
Tama po yun, Mr. Speaker. Based on my experience as a former coach, may mga players din naman po tayong medyo mainitin. But I always make sure to replace him or to call a timeout or at least to remind the players.
After reviewing all the films which were presented in today's session, privilege speech, yung bang ating mga coaches, do you think they did the proper act of avoiding such incident?
In my opinion, Mr. Speaker, in that particular game, hindi po.
So in other words, Mr. Speaker, our colleague is of also the opinion that appropriate penalty be given to the coaches as well as the assistant team coach.
Because Mr. Speaker, hindi lang masyadong clearly napakita, when that particular player fell down, when he stood up, pati referee binangga eh. I think that was a bad sign already. And yung game medyo malaki na yung lamang eh. Dapat kinontrol na niya yung player. So I don't know if tinolerate niya yun or what, if it's an idea. Pero if you look at the clip, during na sa end of the bench siya, may katabi siyang assistant coach. Pinabayaan tumakbo. Even yung mga security and bouncers, wala po nagawa. So my end objective here is not to, to point fingers, but to review the system right now.
We have also seen in the clip that there are officials connected with JRU dancing. And we have seen also that nobody is stopping them or preventing them. Insofar as this action is concerned, Mr. Speaker, what does our colleague say regarding the officials who should actually prevent the same?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, it's so frustrating watching this video. It pains me to watch it. Imagine, after that incident, nagulpi yung ilan ng players, and they were still dancing. And the officials, even the coaches per se didn't call their attention. I think they should be reprimanded, Mr. Speaker.
Reprimanded lang? Bakit hindi pa natin suspend? What about the NCAA officials, as well as the table officials, as well as the referees? Do they don't have the obligation to stop all these acts in order not to further abrogate, not to further agitate the other spectators, most especially the other school?
Mr. Speaker, in fairness to the referees, talagang naging out of control yung player. It should be the coaches ang dapat nagkalma sa kanya. Like what I mentioned, may video dyan na nung tumayo, binangga pa yung referee. So there must be something wrong with that individual. Not only during those 3 games, even yung sa mga inter-barangays, I did my researching, meron din po siyang history na ganon, na nanununtok.
In this particular case, although there was already an action done by the JRU player, no action was given by the referee or any suspension, etc.
Mr. Speaker, in the point of view of referee, the game was halted. I think that's a sign already na ginawa nila yung dapat action, but they're not in the position to suspend the particular players. But tama po si ating kaibigan na I think we should call the attention of the SBP because indefinite suspension siya only in the NCAA. He can play in another tournament. He can play in the MPBL. He can play in those minor tournaments. So I think the SBP, which is the governing arm of our basketball program here, should take actions on that.
So, in other words, hindi man lang sinabi ng referee intentional foul, hindi man lamang sinabi ng referee, you are out of the ball game.
Mr. Speaker, hindi na po umabot doon dahil sobrang nagkagulo. Pumito siya ng technical, kaya nga sinalabas doon. Hindi na po umabot doon dahil nag-amok na po yung particular player.
And insofar as the scorebook is concerned, no disciplinary action was ever proposed or written by the referee against the erring basketball player.
Well, like what I mentioned, Mr. Speaker, the referees are not in a position to probably they can give their assessment, but to suspend a particular player.
No, I'm not talking about suspension, Mr. Speaker. Throwing out of the game.
Yeah, during the particular game, natapo na po siya. Kaya lang na-stop na rin eh. So, material na po eh. Tigil po yung game eh.
And based on your observation, as a former coach and as a basketball player before, what would be suggestion in order to eliminate incidents like this?
Well, Mr. Speaker, like what I mentioned, siguro naman it's already a sign because it happened in the span of 5 months. And you can notice it naman even in practices if it's acting strangely. Except na lang, if the coaches, they tolerate those type of actions. Yung talagang maging madumi maglaro. Because there's a big difference in playing physical at madumi maglaro, Mr. Speaker.
So what would be the suggestion, Mr. Speaker, of our distinguished colleague who happens to be an authority insofar as basketball games are concerned?
Mr. Speaker, for me, I think the SBP should review the penalty with regards to the action of the particular player. And I just hope, Mr. Speaker, that the officials of the JRU will review also the manner of the program, the basketball program of JRU, especially their coaches.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much, my dear colleague from Quezon City.
Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to refer the speech of Honorable Franz Pomeran and the interpellation to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
There is a motion to refer the speech to the Committee on Rules. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the privilege hour be extended for another hour to allow gentlemen and our congressmen to avail of the privilege hour.
There is a motion to extend the privilege hour by another hour. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I now move to recognize Gentleman Mahiv Hataman of the Lone District of Basilan to avail of the privilege hour.
The gentleman from the Lone District of Basilan, the Honorable Representative Mujib Hataman, is recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Daghang salamat, Mr. Speaker. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues of the House of Representatives, guests present here in this chamber. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wal barakatuh. Isang mapagpalayang araw po sa ating lahat. I rise and take the floor as the representative of the Lone District of Basilan, representing the plight of a constituency that is now in distress because of the violence we thought we will never experience again. At ngayon, ako ay tumitindig para kondinahin at questionin kung bakit naganap ang mga naganap nitong mga nakaraang araw sa isang barangay sa aming lalawigan. Mr. Speaker, noong 8 ng Nobyembre, sumiklab ang putukan sa pagitan ng Moro Islamic Liberation Front at ng militar o Armed Forces of the Philippines sa munisipyo ng Ungkaya, Pucan sa Basilan at kumalat ito sa mga karatig bayan at barangay. Sa gitna ng kaguluhang ito, halos 1,500 pamilya ang lumikas dahil sa takot at pangamba para sa kanilang kaligtasan. Noong nakarating ang ulat sa ating tanggapan, agad tayong nanawagan ng ceasefire sa sandatahang lakas at ng MILF. Tayo ay nagtanong kung bakit hindi ito napigilan, gayong may kasunduan ng pangkapayapaan sa pamamagitan ng Armed Forces ng ating pamahalaan at ng Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Kung saan at ano ang pinagmulan ng gulo, Mr. Speaker, may sari-sariling bersyon ang magkabilang panig. 2 araw tumagal ang palitan ng putukan bago nagdesisyon na pumirma ng isang ceasefire agreement ang mga nag-aalitan. At nang tumigil na ang alingaw-ngaw ng mga baril, 8 ang nababalitang nasawi at madami pa ang nasugatan. Sa panig ng Armed Forces of the Philippines, 3 at 5 ang mula sa MILF. And Mr. Speaker, ayon sa isang ulat ng Philippine Daily Inquirer, may isang sibilyang nadamay sa kaguluhan, ang 20 anyos na si Hafiz Abdal, isang estudyanteng criminology na nag-aaral sa Universal College ng Lamitan City. Hindi combatant, may trauma sa mga dimaan na saksihan sa kanyang paglaki at may pangarap na mapanatili ang kapayapaan kung pinalad sana na maging pulis. Ilang araw bago nagsimula ang putukan, nagpaalam sa kanyang teacher, si Abdal, na hindi siya papasok dahil may namumuong kaguluhan sa barangay Ulitan sa May Ungkaya, Pukan, kung saan siya nakatira. Ang sabi niya, sila ay lilikas dahil may military operation daw sa kanilang lugar. Natagpuan na lamang si Abdal na walang ng buhay at may tama ng mga bala at malamang ay nasawi dahil sa crossfire. Ayon sa Save the Children of War in Basilan, isang NGO na tumutulong sa mga batang may trauma, nang dahil sa karahasan at digmaan, isa si Abdal sa libo-libong mga batang kanilang tinutulungan. Under scholarship siya sa kolehiyo at pangarap niyang maging pulis. Nakakalungkot na ito ay sinapit niya. Kung kailan unti-unti nang bumabangon mula sa masamang bangungot ng digmaan si Abdal, ito rin ang kanyang ikinamamatay. Kasama ang mga nasawi sa makabilang panig, ang buhay ni Abdal ay natuldukan ng wala sa oras. Ito ay mga buhay na hindi natin maibabalik. Ito ang karaniwang kwento ng mga taong nadadamay sa digmaan. Mr. Speaker, mga kasama, however saddened or enraged we are because of what happened, we do not seek to lay blame on anyone. This is not the true spirit of peace. Ngunit napakarami nating tanong na nangangailangan ng kasagutan. Tandaan natin, dugo at luha ang ating puhunan sa kapayapaang ating tinatamasa sa kasalukuyan. Utang natin sa lahat ng nag-alay ng kanilang buhay para maging mapayapa at maunlad ang Bangsamoro na gawin natin ang lahat. Sa abot ng ating makakaya na siguruhin na hindi na ito mangyayari ulit. Una sa mga katanungang nais nating masagot ng magkabilang panig, bakit nangyari ito kahit meron ng kasunduan ang pamahalaan at MILF? Ayon sa ilang ulat noong Nobyembre 8, unang nangyari ang putukan. Pero ang hindi pagkakanaunawaan sa pagitan ng militar at MILF ay ilang araw nang nagaganap bago pa man ang unang insidente ng pamamaril. Ibig sabihin, Mr. Speaker, ilang araw na dapat itong naipaabot sa parehong liderato ng pamahalaan at ng MILF para sana ay naagapan ang anumang hindi pagkakaintindihan ng mga nakasangkot sa grupo dito at sana'y hindi nagkaroon ng engkwentro. Hindi yung bubulagain na lamang tayo ng balitang nagsimula na ang putukan. Wala bang na natanggap ang Armed Forces of the Philippines sa nangyari? Sana ay linawin ito ng AFP at MILF sa mga susunod na araw. Lalo na't katuwang na natin ang liderato ng MILF dahil sila ang namumuno sa BARM kapag papanatili ng kapayapaan sa ating Bangsamoro. Pangalawang tanong natin, Mr. Speaker, may proseso bang sumaklaw sa presensya ng mga MILF sa mga lugar na labas sa kanilang itinatalagang mga kampo? Mayroon tayong mga panuntunan na ipinatupad ng Joint Coordinating Committee on the Recession of Hostilities at ng AJAG, Ad Hoc Joint Action Group, tungkol sa operasyon ng militar sa mga lugar na itinalagang MILF camps o community. Ano naman ang prosesong ipinapatupad kapag ang MILF naman ang pupunta sa isang lugar na hindi itinatalagang MILF camp o community? Do we have an institutionalized process for these situations? Saklaw ba ito ng probisyon para sa areas of temporary stay ng MILF o community? Mr. Speaker, ayon sa mga ulat, nagpadala umano ang MILF ng sulat sa Joint Coordinating Committee on the Recession of Hostilities para sa pag-uwi ng mga miyembro nito sa Barangay Ulitan kung saan unang naganap ang putukan. Ayon sa ulat ng AFP, ito daw ay pinayagan bumalik provided na dapat walang armas na dala ang mga miyembro ng MILF. Ngunit hindi po ito nangyari. Pangatlong tanong, Mr. Speaker, was there a breakdown in the approved processes between the AFP and the MILF in this incident? Tulad ng ating nabanggit, sa unang insidente pa lamang ng putukan, sana ay naipaabot na sa kinauukulan ang nangyari. Pero bakit ito tumagal ng 2 araw? Hindi ba malinaw ang proseso sa magkabilang panig? Wala bang panuntunan na sinusunod kung papasimula pa lamang ang conflict? Wala ba tayong sinusunod na guidelines on escalating tensions between combatants? Alam na ng marami ang nangyayari sa unang araw pa lamang ng putukan dahil naiulat na ito sa maraming media agencies. Nananawagan nga tayo agad ng ceasefire sa magkabilang panig sa unang araw pa lamang ng kaguluhan. Wala ba tayong proseso sa bawat level ng conflict? Kung may kiskisan, ano ang dapat panuntunan? Kung lumala ang sitwasyon at may nakaambang putukan, ano ang dapat prosesong susundin? At kung shots fired na, ano dapat ang gagawin para hindi na mag-escalate? Pang-apat at huling tanong po natin, Mr. Speaker, panahon na ba para reviewin at pagtibayin ang mekanismo na sumasaklaw sa galaw ng AFP at MILF combatant? Noong ating dinideliberate ang national budget para sa susunod na taon, napag-usapan ang AJAG dahil may insidente ng pananambang sa Ampatuan Municipal Police Chief at mga kasama nito nang mag-serve lamang ng arrest warrant sa lugar. Ang AJAG ay isang mekanismo na sinusunod kung may operasyon ang pulis at militar sa mga lugar na itinatalagang MILF camps o communities. Ang tanong natin noon, kailangan na ba itong reviewin at palakasin? Kasi nakita nga natin na 3 pulis naman natin ang namatay sa insidenteng ito. At ngayon nga, Mr. Speaker, tayo ay nalulungkot na nangyari na naman ang hindi dapat nangyari sa panahon ng kapayapaan, may kaguluhan. May mga komunidad na naman sa Bangsamoro ang lumikas ng tahanan dahil nababalot ng takot at pangamba ang nakaambang digmaan. Sa gitna ng mga nangyari, sa gitna ng kabilang paliwanag ng magkabilang panig, may mga buhay na naman na nawala. Ilang buhay pa ba ang handa nating isakripisyo para mapanatili ang kapayapaan na abot na natin? Para sa akin, ang sagot dapat dito ay wala na. Mr. Speaker, naniniwala ako na walang may gusto sa nangyari. Pero naniniwala rin ako na may problema ang ating sistema ng koordinasyon sa pagitan ng pamahalaan at ng MILF. Lalo na kung may kinalaman ito sa kilos at galaw ng mga kombatan dahil paulit-ulit na itong nangyayari at the expense of people's lives. Kaya ang ating panawagan, pag-usapan na ito ng masinsinan. The government panel through the OPAPRO or the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace, Reconciliation and Unity and the leadership of the MILF and the BARM government should completely revise its guidelines for cooperation. Pero this time dapat ma-address ang lahat ng butas ng kasalukuyang panuntunan at magkaroon ng proseso sa lahat ng sitwasyon na maaring mangyari. Muli at sasabihin na naman natin ito, hindi na dapat maulit ang ganitong klaseng pangyayari. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, nais ko lang uli diinan. Hindi ito ang unang beses na ni-raise ko ang issue kung dapat na bang bisitahin ang mga proseso sa koordinasyon sa pagitan ng gobyerno at ng MILF. Nagkaroon ng breakdown dati sa coordination ng ambush ng Ampatuan Police Chief na ikinasirwi ng 3 pulis. Nangyari naman ngayon at 8 ang namatay. Ilang buhay ba ang ibubuwis natin bago tayo matuto sa ating mga pagkakamali? Ilang pamilya pa ang kailangan nating idaan sa trauma para maayos natin ang ating proseso? Nais ko din banggitin, noong nasa peace talk pa ang gobyerno at MILF, rebelde ang status ng MILF. Pero ngayong may BOL at BARM na, bahagi na ng pamahalaan ang mga dating rebelde. Ano ang iba sa dynamics ng relasyon? At bilang bahagi ng pamahalaan, paano ba nagmo-monitor ang MILF ng galaw ng mga natitira pa nitong combatants? Hiwalay pa ba ito sa monitoring ng gobyerno o dapat ba joint na? Bilang bahagi ng BARM Transition Regional Government, ano dapat ang response ng MILF sa nangyari? May decommissioning tayong ipinapatupad bilang bahagi ng Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro. Ano na nga ba ang status nito at bakit parang madami pa rin ang may hawak ng armas? Wala sanang putukan na nangyari kung walang baril na ipuputok. At nais din nating malaman ng taong bayan kung ano talaga ang nangyari nitong mga nakarangagam. Higit sa lahat, kailangan natin ng transparency sa lahat ng nangyayari. We owe the people an explanation on why we continue to have these packets of violence when we have peace in the Bangsamoro. I am moving, Mr. Speaker, through this privileged speech for a legislative investigation on what happened in Basilan to be referred to the appropriate committee. Let us invite OPAP, the AFP, the PNP, and the leadership of the MILF and the BARM to shed light on what happened. Wala na sanang inosenteng buhay na matutuldukan ng digmaan dahil may kapayapaan na tayo sa Bangsamoro. Wala na dapat pamilya o komunidad na binabalot ng takot at pangamba dahil mayroon na namang nakatambang kaguluhan. At wala na dapat ni anino ng gyera dahil nasa panahon na tayo ng kapayapaan. Huwag tayong pumayag na bumalik sa gulo ang ating bayan. Huwag nating hayaang burahin ng digmaan ang lahat ng pangarap natin para sa ating mga sarili at sa ating pamilya. Huwag nating payagan na mawala ang mga ganansyang ating ipinaglaban para sa kapayapaan. Walang lugar ang karahasan sa isang lipunan na nangangarap ng kaunlaran para sa kanyang mamamayan. If there is no genuine and lasting peace, how do we hope to move forward and progress? Magtulungan po tayo, Mr. Speaker, mga kasama. Abot kamay na ang kapayapaan. Huwag nating hayaang mawala, huwag nating sayangan sa digmaan ang lahat ng ating pinaghihirapan. And with that, I end my speech. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. At muli, isang mapagpalayang araw sa ating lahat. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to refer the speech and the motion of Honorable Majib Hataman of the Lone District of Basilan to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there any objection to the motion? Chair is none. Motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge the guests of Deputy Majority Leader Jose Bong Teves Jr. of TGP Party List, the guests namely Datu Patsolo of Ata Manobo Tribe of Davao del Norte and Dato Panihag Dani Mangahas of Ovu Manobo Tribe of North Cotabato.
We would like to acknowledge the presence of the guest of Deputy Majority Leader Jose Bong Teves, Dato Patsolo of Atamanobo Tribe in Davao del Norte, and Dato Panihag, Mr. Dani Mangahas of Obo Manobo Tribe of North Cotabato. Maayong pag-abot din sa Ubos Balay Balauranan. Welcome to the House of Representatives. The Chair would like to declare 1 minute suspension to allow our guests and members to interact with each other. Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Lady of ACT Teacher Party List, Honorable Franz Castro, to be recognized to avail the privilege hour.
The lady from ACT Teachers Party List, the Honorable Representative Franz Castro, is recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Speaker. Ginoong Speaker at mga kamambabatas, magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Narito ako upang muling idiin ang ilang mga solusyon na kinakaharap ng mga problemang malapit sa sikmura ng mga mamamayan. Mga solusyong dapat ay tutukan at ipasa sa pinakamadaling panahon ng Kongreso sa pamumuno ng kamarang ito. Walang tigil na pagsirit ang taas ng presyo sa mga pangunahing bilihin at utilities. Lagpas-lagpasan na sa inaasahan ng administrasyon ang huling tinalang inflation rate na pumalo sa 7.7% sa ikatlong kwarto ng kasalukuyang taon. Tumaas din ang bilang ng mga pamilyang hindi kinakaya ng per capita income ang kanilang basic food and non-food needs. At di pa nga sinasalamin ng tantyang per capita income ng PSA na 28,871 pesos ang tunay na napakababang kita ng mayorya ng pamilyang Pilipino. Isa pa, kalahati lamang ng minimum wage sa mga rehiyon ng family living wage o ang tinatantyang halaga na kinakailangan upang mabuhay ang kanilang pamilya. Humugit kumulang sa 2.5 million na Pilipino ang walang trabaho. At idagdag pa natin dito ang lumulobong bilang ng mga underemployed o 7.3 million na kababayan natin na kulang ang oras ng trabaho o nagnanais na makakuha ng dagdag na trabaho at kita. Saan man tayo tumingin, sa private man o sa public sector, parehas ang sitwasyon. Pati ang mga kababayan natin sa labas ng bansa ay lumiliit ang naipapadala sa kanilang pamilya. Sa kabuuan ay higit na 200 million US dollars ang binaba mula nung nakaraang buwan. Mr. Speaker, suma total, mas dumarami ang napipilitang maghigpit ng sinturon at banat na hirap na ang mga belt at baywang ng mga Pilipino. Totoong malapit sa sikmura ang kahirapan, inflation at kawalan ng trabaho. At palakas ng palakas ang pagkalam ng mga sikmurang iyon. Una sa mga kagyat na solusyon sa mga krisis na ito, dapat ay gawing prioridad ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. ang pagpapataas ng sweldo at sahod ng mga manggagawa sa pribado at pampublikong sektor. Nakalulungkot isipin na sa mahabang listahan ng LEDAC priority bills, wala ni isa sa napakaraming bersyon ng wage hikes, national wage setting, salary hikes, salary upgrading, at iba pang mga katulad na panukala. Tiyak na napapanahon ang agarang pagtalakay sa mga ito, na sa aming tala ay umabot na sa 54 na bills resolution at mga benepisyo sa public and private sector, workers and employees. Sila ay inihain mula noong araw ng 19th Congress, ngunit ni isang hakbang sa isang committee ay hindi pa nakakausad. Ang iba sa kanila particular lamang sa isa o ilang profesyon lamang, samantalang iba naman ay pangkalahatan. Karamihan ay magkakaiba ang panukalang halaga o iba pang panukalang sistema. Kung regional wage hikes o sistemang pambansang minimum wage. Pero iisa ang hangarin ng ating kapwa kongresistang nagpanukala ng mga ito. Iisa ang magiging epekto sa kanilang mga kinatawang sektor o distrito, ang mabigyang alwan ang ekonomikong kalagayan ng ating mga kababayan. Bakit hindi natin simulan ang puntong ito na pagkakasang-ayunan ang marami sa atin at buksan sa lalong madaling panahon ang usapin ng pagibigay ng mas mataas na kita para sa ating mga manggagawa at empleyado? Hindi dapat magsara ang taon na ito, ang buwan na ito, na hindi natin nagagawa ang maliit pero napakahalagang unang hakbang na ito. Ikalawa, Ginoong Speaker, sa mga kagyat na solusyon sa mga krisis. Para doon sa malaking bahagi ng lipunan natin na walang trabaho o inaasahang regular na kita o ang informal sector. Kasama na rin ang mga magsasaka at manggagawa sa sektor ng agrikultura. Kailangan din ang kagyat na ayuda, lalo na sa pinakamahihirap na pamilya. Sa kasamaang palad ay tinitigil na ang halos lahat na ayudang binigay noong panahon ng lockdowns at kasagsagan ng pandemya at makikita ang napakalaking kakulangang ito sa 2023 national budget na inaprubahan ng kamarang ito. Hindi rin substansyal na dadagdagan ang mga benepisyaryo ng mga lumang programa gaya ng 4Ps. Sa makatuwid, ang mga walang trabaho at walang kita hanggang sa ngayon, sila ang nasa pinakamababang poverty levels. Kahit pa naman bago humagupit ang pandemya, ay sila ang hindi nakakabangon sa epekto nito. Ay hindi makakatanggap ng anumang tulong pinansyal mula sa pamahalaan. Kaya namin ginigiit ngayon, Ginoong Speaker, ang pamamahagi ng cash subsidies, gaya ng ihahaing panukala ng makabayan na 10,000 ayuda para sa pamilyang pinaka-umaaray sa kasalukuyang krisis sa inflation at di napipigilang taas presyo. Kabilang sa mga ito ang mga informal workers at poor to low income earners. May iba't ibang panukala rin patungkol sa iba't ibang uri ng subsidyo para sa mga pinakamahirap na pamilya. Halimbawa ay yung rice subsidy, fuel subsidy ng ilang sectors. May pagkakaiba pero sumasang-ayon sa puntong kailangan ng saklolohan ang mga nasa laylayan ng ating lipunan. Gaya ng sa usapin ng sahod at sweldo, marahil na pagsimulan natin ang puntong ito at dinggin na ang mga nasabing panukala. Katambal ng dalawang hakbang na ito, Ginoong Speaker, ang pagtatanggal ng VAT sa mga batayang bilihin sa serbisyo, gaya ng mga food and non-food commodities, produktong petrolyo, tubig, kuryente at iba pa, ay magpapababa sa presyo, hindi lamang sa mga nabanggit, pati na rin yung mga produkto at serbisyong kaugnay ng mga ito, gaya ng transportasyon. Dapat ay ituring ng administrasyon na urgent ang mga usaping ito at isertipika bilang urgent ang mga panukalang naglalaman ng mga ganitong panawagan. Ginoong Speaker at mga kasamahan, ang pagtayo ko dito ay isang pagpupumilit na bigyan naman natin ng kakayanan ang ating mga kababayan na maalpasan ang krisis sa ekonomiya. Ito ang mga hakbang na magbibigay ng agarang alwan sa ating mga kababayan. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon sa ating lahat.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of Honorable Franz Castro to the Committee of Rules for its appropriate action.
There's a motion to refer the speech of the Honorable Castro to the Committee on Rules. Is there any objection? The Chair hearing none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I now move to recognize the gentleman from the Kabataan Party List, Honorable Raul Manuel, to be recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
The gentleman from Kabataan Party List, the Honorable Representative Raul Manuel, is recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Salamat, Mr. Speaker. Magandang hapon, mga kapwa mambabatas. In behalf of Sangguniang Kabataan officials and councils, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege to lend a voice to the open letter of SK officials and councils on the delayed release of the implementing rules and regulations of Republic Act 11768, or the SK Compensation and Empowerment Act. This open letter was sent to the National Youth Commission electronically on November 7, 2022, and was published online by SK officials on the same date. As lifted from their open letter, Sangguniang Kabataan Officials and Councils of the Philippines would like to express their concerns to the National Youth Commission on the delayed release of the IRR, which amends the SK Reform Act of 2015 and adds much-needed provisions regarding compensation and benefits for SK officials and the additional functions and qualifications of SK Treasurer, among other amendments. In their open letter, they mention that Section 14 of RA 11768 states that the implementing rules and regulations must be promulgated within 60 days from the effectiveness of the law, which was effective on May 6, 2022. But today, Mr. Speaker, November 14, 2022, is already 193 days past May 6. It has been 4 months ever since the law required that the IRR be finished and promulgated. However, SK officials and councils claim that they have not seen hide nor hair of the document that will supposedly enable the implementation of RA 11768. Updates from the National Youth Commission on this matter and other relevant youth policies have been scarce. Given this situation, SK officials and councils cannot help but exercise their constitutionally guaranteed right to freedom of expression to raise this concern as a matter of public interest. Sangguniang kabataan officials would be more able to deliver their best in faithfully serving their prolonged terms despite being understaffed and undercompensated if this law, among other youth policies, is already being implemented. Mr. Speaker, as advocates of good governance and public officials themselves, SK officials and councils only ask for transparency on the delayed release of the IRR beyond what is prescribed by the law. Moreover, they call for its overdue and immediate release to the public as they hope that it fully reflects the spirit of the law, empowering the youth across communities nationwide for nation building. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker, at muli, magandang hapon.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Raul Manuel of Kabataan Party List to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection to the motion? The chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we terminate the privilege hour.
There is a motion to terminate the privilege hour. Is there any objection? There being none, motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to consider on third and final reading House Bill number 5 and further request the Secretariat to read the title of the said bill and thereafter call the roll for the nominal voting.
The Secretary General is there any objection? Hearing none, the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 5 and thereafter call for nominal voting.
House Bill number 5, an act establishing an on-city, in-city, near-city, or off-city local government resettlement program for informal settler families in accordance with the People's Plan and mandating the implementing local government unit jointly with the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development in cases of near-city or off-city resettlement to provide other basic services and livelihood components in favor of the recipient local government unit, amending for the purpose Republic Act No. 7279 as amended, otherwise known as the Urban Development and Housing Act of 1992. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill No. 5 on third reading. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Omentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondoc, Bungalon, Bordado, Busita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain,
Mr.
Bulutbigtang.
Speaker,
What is the pleasure of the gentleman from, we cannot, Gabriela Party List, yes, please proceed.
yes, Mr. Speaker, I would like to vote yes with reservation, and I would like to explain my vote later.
Please
Mr.
take note, explain your vote later after the vote is announced.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please proceed.
Buhain, Bulutbigtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jean, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalao, Co Angelica Natasha, Co Elizaldi, Co Pilar, Co Juanco Jaime, Co Juanco Mark, Colada, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cua, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo, Muhammad Kali, Dimaporo, City Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeyos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Gintu, Gulias, Gutierrez, Hagedorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Kunghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lasatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Limcaychong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Maniquis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marinio, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles Juan Fidel, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Uwaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicias Agabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Ieda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Zuarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villalago, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, Yu Divina Grace, Yu Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill Number 5. Alvarez, Pantaleon, Amatong, Baronda, Bautista, Busita, Cardema, Chungalao, Co Elizaldi, Co Juanco Jaime, Colada, Cruz Ambrosio, Pua, Quaresma, De Venecia, Duavit, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, Fariñas, Flores, Garcia Albert, Gonzales, Sandro, Guico, Gutierrez, Hagidor, Nahorebata, Javier, Lagman, Lee, Legarda, Marcoleta, Marquez, Martinez, Mendoza, Momo, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Padiernos, Panotes, Roman, Romero, Salceda, Singson Richel, Suwan, Tan Samir, Tan Tambut, Teves Arnolfo, Tieng, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Vargas, Veloso Tuazon, Versosa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Yap Eric, Yu Divina Grace.
With 254 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 5 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, to explain her vote, may I move that we recognize Representative Arlene Brosas of Party List, Gabriela Party List.
The Honorable Arlene Brosas from the Gabriela Party List is recognized to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this representation votes yes with reservation on House Bill 5, which seeks to establish an on-site in-city, near-city, or off-city local government resettlement program for informal settler families. Bagamat minamandato ng panukalang batas na ito na gawing first recourse ang on-site, near-city at in-city resettlement program para sa informal sector families o ISFs, bigo ito sa pagtatanggal ng anumang forma ng off-city relocation na naglalayo sa mga ISFs sa kanilang trabaho at kabuhayan. Ayon sa Section 26, Urban Renewal and Resettlement, off-city is still one of the options that can be undertaken by the implementing agencies in case near-city resettlement is not feasible. Mr. Speaker, sa House Bill 4087 ng Makabayan Block, sinasaad na ang on-site development ang dapat first recourse at tinatanggal natin ang option ng off-city relocation dahil madalas ito ang ini-implement sa ground. Madali lang kasing sabihin na hindi kakayanin ng on-site development na hindi pwede ang in-city at near-city resettlement at ang natatanging option ay ilipat na naman sa malayong lugar ang maralita malayo sa kanyang kabuhayan. Mr. Speaker, sinasabi sa House Bill 5 na layunin nito na lutasin ang ilang mga issue sa usapin ng resettlement program sa Pilipinas at ma-address ang housing backlog. Pero bigo ito na tanggalin ang isa sa mga primaryang issue na kinakaharap ng maralita. At ito ay ang sunod-sunod na demolisyon sa mga komunidad upang magbigay daan sa mga infrastruktura na hindi naman mapapakinabangan ng mahihirap. Isa sa mga amyenda ng Makabayan Block sa ilalim ng House Bill 4087 ay ang pag-repeal sa Section 28 ng Republic Act No. 7279 o Urban Development and Housing Act of 1992 na naglalaman ng mga pamantayan ng pagdedemolish sa mga komunidad. Despite the non-inclusion of some crucial points in this bill, this representation still welcomes the provision which recognizes the rights of renters and sharers. Under the definition of terms, isang mahalagang probisyon ng pagkilala sa mga karapatan ng tenants, sharers at renters sa informal sector, lalo na't nakakaranas sila ng diskriminasyon sa pagkuha ng government housing. This representation also welcomes the provision for a people's plan, isang site development plan na maaaring gawin sa pagtutulungan ng mga benepisyaryo at lokal na pamahalaan na naaayon sa Comprehensive Land Use Plan. This is a huge step forward in ensuring that the beneficiaries are included in the crafting of a relocation program that can address their needs. Malaking bagay ito para sa mga maralita na sa karanasan ay basta-basta na lamang pinapaalis sa kanilang komunidad at tinatanggalan ng karapatan para sa pabahay. This representation hopes that this bill will stay true to its objective, which is to provide a resettlement program crafted for and by the community. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Floor Leader.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, before we proceed, may I respectfully request that we recognize the guests of Honorable Bambi Imano of the 2nd District of Misamis Oriental. They are from the local government unit of Municipality of Sugbongkogon of the 1st District of Misamis Oriental, and they are SB members Ricky Aragua Jr., Madonna Nercuit, Edison Aragua, Wilfredo Absede, Benedict Lagbas Jr., Maria Sherry Cometa, Andrew Wilson Cabana, Agustin Sabugaa, Jasper Lawrence Anayron, Sydney Arthur Pau, Daisy Gaabukayan, Geronimo Magua Lagbas, and Ms. Rosel Tampe.
We acknowledge the guests of the Honorable Bambi Imano from the 2nd District of Misamis Oriental from the Municipality of Sugbongkogon. Mayong pag-abot din sa Balay Ubos, Balay Balaoranan. Welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to consider on third and final reading House Bill number 4102, and my request, Mr. Speaker, that the Secretariat read the title of the bill and thereafter to proceed with the nominal voting for third and final reading, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The Chair is none. The Secretary General is requested to read the title of House Bill 4102 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 4102 entitled An Act Imposing Excise Tax on Single-Up Plastic Bags, amending for the purpose Section 288 and adding a new Section 150C in the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill number 4102 on third reading. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Argancia, Asisio, Atayde, Omentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain.
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no, and I would like to explain my vote later.
Yes, please explain your vote later. Please proceed.
Buhain, Bulutwegtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon, Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro France.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, the Honorable Lady from the party list.
my vote is no, and I reserve my right to explain my vote later.
Yeah, please do so later. Secretary General may proceed.
Castro Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizaldi, Ko Pilar, Ko Juan, Ko Jaime, Ko Juan, Ko Mark, Colada, Colliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayanghirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimoporo, Mohad Khalid, Dimoporo, Sita Amina, Junicio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael Carlos, Di Ian Paul, Cleo, Emano, Inciso, Inverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Udela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Fer Antonio, Fer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Gallos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garjola, Garin, Casataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neftali, Gonzales Sandro, Griseta, Guico, Gintu, Gullas, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara Lasatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Limkaychong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Maranyon,
Mr. Speaker, this representation votes no, and I will explain my vote later. Thank you.
Please proceed.
Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Villa, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles, Jose, Fidel, Felipe, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Waminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Urbano, Dizon, Tiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panarigan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicias Agabas, Umaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulog, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solo, Soriano, Suwan, Suansing Horacio, Suansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Taliado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samier, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tanchay, Tan Tuanco, Tariela, Chidoro, Teves Arnulfo, Teves Jose, Tianco, Cheng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T. Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Crisantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, Yu Divine Grace, Yu Jaisel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration of third reading of House Bill number 4102. Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Bautista, Bosita, Chungalao, Co Elizalde, Cojuanco Jaime, Cruz Ambrosio, Cuba, Quaresma, De Venecia, Duavit, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Fariñas, Flores, Garcia Albert, Gonzales Sandro, Guico, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Horibata, Javier, Lagman, Lig, Legarda, Marcoleta, Marquez, Martinez, Mendoza, Momo, Nograles, Juan, Fidel, Felipe, Padiernos, Panotes, Roman, Romero, Singson, Richel, Suwan, Tan Samier, Tan Tambut, Teves Arnolfo, Tieng, Tulfo, Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Vargas, Veloso Tuazon, Versosa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Yap Eric, Yu Divine Grace.
With 255 members voting in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 4102 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I respectfully move that we recognize Congresswoman Arlene Brosas of Gabriela to explain her vote.
The Honorable Arlene Brosas from Party List Gabriela may proceed to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this representation votes no on House Bill 4102 or the act imposing tax on single-use plastic bags. While we want to regulate the use of plastic bags for environmental concerns, such as reducing pollution, this proposed measure will just be an additional burden to consumers, sellers, and retailers. The proposed bill would impose a 100 peso excise tax per kilo on single-use plastic bags. The tax imposed will also increase by 4% every year starting January 1, 2026. Ipapasa na naman ang panibagong tax na ito sa mga manininda at mamimili. Bugbog na nga ang taong bayan sa samot-saring buwis na ipinapataw ng gobyerno, dadagdagan pa. Isa pa, imposible na mabawasan ang polusyon at iba pang environmental problems kung mismong ang mga malalaking kumpanya ang nagmamanufacture, nagbebenta at gumagamit ng plastic bags. Mr. Speaker, these taxes should be paid by big companies rather than small retailers who already make a small profit. Furthermore, this representation believes that in order to solve environmental problems concerning the use of single-use plastic bags, we should have an accessible and affordable alternative for consumers, as well as impose stringent regulations for big companies at hindi dapat i-pass on sa consumer ang tax na ito. And for those reasons, Mr. Speaker, we vote no.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Franz Castro of ACT Teachers Party List.
The Honorable Representative Franz Castro of ACT Teachers Party List may now proceed to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bumoboto po ng no ang ACT Teachers Party List sa House Bill 4102 o yung panukalang Plastic Bags Tax Act. Isa na naman itong buwis na sa kaduluduluhan ay papasanin ng mga mamamayan. Mas kadalasan na walang kontrol ang consumer sa packaging na ginagamit sa goods at products na binibili nila. Desisyon iyon ng producer at nagbebenta ng mga produkto. Ibig sabihin, tatama ang buwis sa consumer kahit na environmentally friendly conscious siya o nasa zero waste ang lifestyle niya o isinasabuhay niya ang recycling at repurposing. Magiging dagdag ito sa presyo ng kanyang mga bibilhin dahil ito ay isang specific excise tax gaya ng dinudulot ng iba pang mga indirect or consumption taxes na iba pang mga produkto na kasalukuyan ng nagpapabigat sa buhay ng mga mamamayan. Sa panahong lumalalim at lumalawak ang kahirapan at kagutuman sa panahong pumapalo ng lagpas na 7% ang estimates na inflation rate. Bakit pa natin dadagdagan ang VAT, excise taxes, at iba pang mga consumption taxes sa mga batayang bilihin at serbisyo? Ang mas mabigat, Mr. Speaker, ang solid waste management at pollution prevention ay dapat pinapasan sa pagpapalabas sa merkado ng mas malalaki at makapanirang solid waste. Ito ang mismong mga producer ng single-use plastics at mga producer at seller ng mga produktong gumagamit sa mga ito bilang packaging. Hindi ang mga consumer. Naniniwala kaming ang tunay na nais nating maglagay ng deterrent sa pagkakamit ng single-use plastics, dapat ay nagtatakda tayo ng mas epektibo, komprehensibo at makamasang solusyon katulad ng pagpapataw ng direct taxes na hindi maipapasa sa ating mga mamamayan. Sa mga kadahilanang ito, Ginoong Speaker, no ang boto ng representasyong ito sa House Bill 4102.
Majority Leader.
Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Raul Manuel of the Kabataan Party List to explain his vote.
Representative Raul Manuel from Kabataan Party List is recognized to explain his vote.
Magandang hapon, Mr. Speaker. Ang representasyong ito ay bumoboto ng no sa panukalang batas upang maglagay ng dagdag na buwis sa pamamagitan ng single-use plastics. Kahit na sa isang banda ay makatwiran ang tunguhin ng panukalang batas na ito para bawasan ang gabundok na plastic waste na nililikha kada araw mula sa ating mga syudad at iba pang lugar, dapat pa ring tiyakin na hindi napapasa ang responsibilidad at ang financial burden sa pamamagitan ng dagdag na buwis, lalo na sa maliliit na negosyo at mga consumer. Pangunahin para sa atin ang pag-regulate ng produksyon ng single-use plastics mula sa malalaking kumpanya at pagtutulungan para sa pinakamabilis na panahon ay makapaglikha tayo ng alternatibo na madali ring makuha at magamit. Kasabay nito ay dapat ma-facilitate ang unti-unting pagbabawas ng paggamit ng single-use plastics mula sa mga pagawaan, malalaking establishmento, hanggang sa mga karinderya, sari-sari store at mga bahay ng mamamayang Pilipino. Kaakibat din ito sa angkop na edukasyon sa mga mamamayan kung bakit natin dapat tugunan ang problema ng plastic waste sa ating bansa at ang problema ng climate change. Isa ang Pilipinas sa mga pinaka-vulnerableng bansa sa mundo pagdating sa mga malalang epekto ng climate change. Pare-pareho nating nakikita ang pangangailangan na magkaroon ng mga hakbang para mabawasan ang paggamit ng plastic. Ngunit kasabay ng pangangalaga sa ating kapaligiran ay pangangalaga rin sa ating taong bayan. We believe that protecting the environment and protecting or promoting a pro-people economy can go hand in hand. In times when the people are already experiencing the impacts of climate change, as well as suffering from high prices due to rising inflation rates, the purchasing power of ordinary citizens must not be further eroded. We must consider as our top priority the measures and actions that will uplift the economic condition of our hardworking people. Para magawa ito, dapat bawasan ang pasanin ng ating mga kababayan. Panahon na para tanggalin ang value-added tax o VAT at ang excise taxes na dulot ng train law sa langis. Panahon na rin para tanggalin ang VAT sa basic commodities at singil sa kuryente at tubig. To generate sufficient revenue for the national government, sources of revenue that are not shouldered by the majority of ordinary citizens must be explored. Ang sagot ay hindi indirect taxes kagaya ng value-added tax o VAT, kundi mga forma ng direktang buwis, gaya ng income tax mula sa malalaki at dayuhang negosyo. Kasama na riyan ang wealth tax o buwis sa mga bilyonaryo sa bansa. We must reverse the trend in the past years, wherein the rate of consumption taxes is going up while the rate of corporate taxes is going down. Sa batayan ng mga nabanggit, bumoboto ang kabataan ng no sa panukalang batas na magpapataw ng VAT sa single-use plastics, pati na rin sa digital services. At sa Passive Income and Financial Intermediary Taxation Act o PIFITA, na bahagi ng kontramahirap na tax reform program na binuo ng economic managers ng nakaraang administrasyon at pinagpapatuloy ng economic managers ng kasalukuyang administrasyon. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Magandang hapon.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider on third and final reading House Bill number 4122 and request the Secretariat to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for the nominal voting, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 4122 on third and final reading. Is there any objection? Chair is none. Motion is approved. The Secretary General is directed to read House Bill 4122 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 4122, an act imposing value-added tax on digital transactions in the Philippines, amending for the purpose sections 105, 108, 109, 110, 113, 114, 115, 236, and 288, and adding a new section 105-A of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 4122. Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Charon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Ang, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barsaga, Bascug, Bautista, Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Beron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulot, Bigtang.
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no, and I would like to explain my vote later.
Noted. Please proceed, Secretary.
Buhain, Bulot Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz.
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no.
Please proceed.
Castro Jean, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalao, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizaldi, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco Mark, Ko Juanco Jaime, Colada, Colyantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuwa, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayang Hirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo, Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo, City Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeyos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Gintu, Gulyas, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Kunghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara Lazatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Limcachong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikis, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza,
Mr.
Mercado.
Speaker, my vote for the bill is no. Thank you.
The vote is duly noted. Proceed. Second, please proceed.
Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Uwaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Eulogio, Rodriguez, Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez, Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez, Ieda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Swansing Horacio, Swansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Shai, Tahnuatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T. Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villago, Yap Crishantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, U. Divina Grace, U. Jazel Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparang Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Subiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill Number 4122. Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Bautista, Bosita, Chungalao, Co Elizalde, Cojuangco Jaime, Cruz Ambrosio, Cua, De Venecia, Duavit, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, Farinas, Flores, Garcia Albert, Gonzalez Sandro, Gico, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Horebata, Javier, Lagman, Lee, Legarda, Marcoleta, Marquez, Martinez, Mendoza, Momo, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Padiernos, Panotes, Roman, Romero, Singson Richel, Suwan, Tan Samir, Tan Tambut, Teves Arnolfo, Tieng, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Vargas, Veloso Tuazon, Versosa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villar, Villaraza Suarez.
With 253 members voting in the affirmative, 4 in the negative, and 1 abstention, House Bill number 4122 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
So Speaker, for the explanation of our vote, may I respectfully move that we recognize Representative Arlene Brosas of Gabriela Party List.
The Honorable Brosas is recognized to explain her vote. The lady has 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Gabriela Women's Party votes no to another regressive tax measure as proposed under House Bill 4122 or the imposition of VAT on digital goods and services. While it is true that the playing field must be fair, especially to local online digital service providers who are already imposing VAT on digital goods and services, we believe levying a new tax in the form of digital tax on other streaming services and digital transactions is not the way forward. Yung mga ordinaryong mamamayan pa rin ang papasan ng 12% digitax na ito sa forma ng mas mataas na subscription fees sa online platforms tulad ng Netflix at Spotify. Maging ang digital platforms na ginagamit na pantulong sa edukasyon tulad ng Canva at Zoom ay maaaring patawan ng digitax, maliban na lang kung accredited educational institutions ang gagamit nito. Sa halip na digitax, mahigpit ang assertion namin na dapat ikonsidera ang wealth tax na tiyak na lilikha ng mas malaking revenues kumpara sa panukalang digital tax. Around 98 billion will be generated by imposing a wealth tax on the top 20 billionaires. Sa ating bayan, mas ito sana ang ikonsidera natin. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. For these reasons, we vote no to House Bill 4122.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that we consider House Bill number 4339, and may I request that the Secretariat to read the title of the bill and thereafter to proceed with the roll call for nominal voting. Mr.
There is a motion to consider House Bill 4339 on third and final reading. Is there any objection? Chair is none. Motion is, the Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 4339 and thereafter call the roll for nominal voting.
House Bill number 4339, an act amending sections 6, 22, 24, 25, 27, 28, 32, 34, 37, 38, 39, 42, 51, 52, 54, 56, 57, 73, 108, 109, 112, 121, 122, 123, 127, 149, 174, 176, 179, 181, 182, 183, 184, 185, 186, 187, 190, 195, 198, 199, 2004, 2222, 237, 237A, 255, 256, 257, 258, 261, 263, 264, 266, 275, inserting new section 270A and repealing sections 175, 177, 178, 180, 188, 192, and 193, all under Republic Act number 8424, otherwise known as the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 4339, Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asisio, Atayde, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Bilrones, Brosas.
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no, and I would like to explain my vote later. Thank you.
The Secgen, please proceed.
Buhain, Bulot Begtang, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro France.
Mr. Speaker, my vote is no, and I will explain my vote later.
Vote is duly noted. Secgen may proceed.
Castro, Jane, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, ko Angelica Natasha, ko Elizaldi, ko Pilar, ko Juan, ko Jaime, ko Juan, ko Mark, ko Lada, Coliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cuba, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Deyanghira, Dasa, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Del Mar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo, Muhammad Kali, Dimaporo, City Amina, Junicio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustini Ino, Di Faustino, Michael Carlos, Di Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enciso, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Fariñas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer, Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo John, Garcia Vincent, Garjola, Garin, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Go, Ed Christopher, Go Mark, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Griseta, Guico, Ginto, Gullas, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Ko Olga Ara, Ko Ricardo, Ko Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara Lasatin, Lee, Ligarda, Libanan, Limkaychong, Loyola, Luis Tol, Lumayag, Makapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Maniquis, Manuel, Maranyon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Noel, Nograles, Juan, Fidel Felipe, Nograles, Margarita, Nolasco, Waminal,
Mr. Speaker, Representative Manuel of Kabataan Party List, as I have explained earlier, I also vote no to this bill. Thank you.
Vote duly noted. Secretary General may proceed.
Olaso, Olivares, Chuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicias, Agabas, Umaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Revilla Brian, Revilla Ramon Jolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman Romero, Romualdez, Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Sieda Marie, Romualdo Romulo Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sari, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulog, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Soriano, Suwan, Sonsing Horacio, Sonsing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samier, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Chedoro, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Chanco, Cheng Tolentino, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Del Tupas, Tutor, T. Umali, Unabia, Unga, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Tuazon, Vergara, Versosa, Villafuerte, Luis Raymond, Villafuerte, Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Crisantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, Yu, Divine Grace, Yu Ejeso Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Second call for consideration, third reading of House Bill number 4339, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Bautista, Bosita, Ochangalao, Co. Elizalde, Cojuan Jaime, Cruz Ambrosio, Cuba, De Venecia, Duavit, Duterte, Di Faustino, Ino, Fariñas, Flores, Garcia, Albert, Gonzales, Sandro, Guico, Gutierrez, Hagidorn, Horibata, Javier, Lagman, Legarda, Marcoleta, Marquez, Martinez, Mendoza, Momo, Nograles, Juan, Fidel Felipe, Padiernos, Panotes, Romero, Singson Richel, Suwan, Tansamier, Tantambut, Teves Arnolfo, Cheng, Tulfo, Rafendel, Tupas, Vargas, Velos Tuazon, Versosa, Villafuerte, Luis Raymond, Villafuerte, Miguel Luis, Villarasa Suarez, Yap Eric, Yu Divine Grace.
With 258 members voting in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 4339 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Arlene Brosas of Gabriela Party List to explain her vote.
The lady from Gabriela Party List has 3 minutes to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gabriela Women's Party votes no to House Bill 4339 or the Train Package 4, the fourth installment of the regressive tax package initiated under the Duterte regime and is being continued under the Marcos Jr. regime. Mr. Speaker, while we take note of Train 4's intent to simplify and reduce the overall tax rate and bases on many types of passive income from 74 to 52 supposedly to correct arbitrage and unfairness, This proposed train package 4 leads to unnecessary and massive revenue losses at a time when we need to retain the level of tax collections from passive income and financial transactions. Sa panahon ng matinding krisis at taas presyo, yung buwis pa ng mga mayayaman ang babawasan sa halip na tanggalin ang VAT sa bilihin na pasan-pasan ng ordinaryong mamamayan. Babawasan ang tax rate sa maraming tipo ng pagbubuwis sa passive income at financial transactions tulad ng interest income tax, gross receipt tax sa mga bangko at stock transaction tax na pangunahing pakikinabangan ng malalaking kumpanya, negosyo at pampinansyang institusyon. Lumalabas lang na may panibagong kita ang gobyerno sa panukala dahil sa pagtanggal ng excise tax exemption sa pickup trucks na nilaman ng Train Package 1. The bill rests on a very hypothetical assumption that lowering and simplifying tax rates and bases will deepen the country's capital market and encourage more Filipinos to put their money in bank deposits, pre-need insurance, stocks, and other passive income. In reality, big players in the financial markets will emerge as the biggest winners under this measure, not the small percentage of typical Filipino middle class who has savings or who has insurance. Thus, we vote no to the proposed train package 4 bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Franz Castro of ACT Teachers to explain her vote.
Representative Castro from ACT Teachers Party List has 3 minutes to explain her vote.
Maraming salamat, Ginong Speaker. Bumoboto ng no ang ACT Teachers Party List sa House Bill 4339 o panukalang Train Package 4. Tunay ngang mapait na realidad sa bansa ang kawalan ng ipon ng mayorya ng pamilyang Pilipino. 7 sa bawat 10 pamilya ang wala man lang savings account sa kahit anong bangko ayon sa BSP. At ang average na savings ng isang pamilya, 75 pesos batay sa huling tansya ng PSA. 2018 pa ito na tiyak na mas lalong lumiit o matapos ang pandemya at apat na taon. Savings accounts nga lang ay wala, kaya mas lalo pang wala silang investments sa pre-need insurance, stocks at iba pang passive income. Realidad ito na buhay ng kawalan ng disente at nakabubuhay na sahod. Lalo na ngayon, di maampat-ampat ang pagsirit ng presyo ng mga batayang bilihin sa historical high inflation rate na 7.6%. Buhat din ito ng kawalan ng trabaho at mataas na underemployment rate. Isa pa ang mataas na buwis, income taxes man o consumption taxes gaya ng VAT na pinapasan lahat ng mga mamayan at nagpapabawas palalo sa maliit na kita nilang mga sahod at sweldo. Ibig sabihin ay paparami ang bilang ng mga pamilyang halos walang naiuuwing kita, ano pa nga ba ang maiipon o mai-invest nila? Sa makatuwid, hindi kapakipakinabang sa ordinaryong mamamayan ang panukalang ito. Hinugot sa hangin ang ekspertong palagay o assumption of so-called experts na sa simpleng pagpapababa ng tax rates sa passive income ay may engganyo ang mga Pilipinong mag-impok sa bangko at mag-invest sa kanilang capital market. Hindi ito totoo dahil ang pag-iimpok at investment ay mangyayari lamang kung magkakaroon ng mga Pilipino ng may perang lalabis sa pangangailangan nila sa pagkain, tirahan, edukasyon at iba pang mga batayang produkto at serbisyo. Ang tanging makakagawa nito kung susundin ng pamahalaan sa pangunguna ng Administrasyong Marcos Jr., ang matagal nang sinisigaw ng mamamayan, sahod at sweldo itaas, presyo at buwis ibaba. Samantalang hindi maengganyo ang mga pamilyang Pilipino, mag-iimpok at mag-iinvest, magdudulot lamang itong panukalang ito ng panibagong bawas sa kanilang binabayarang mga buwis. Dagdag pa sa mga nakuha nila mula sa Train Package 1 at Create. Sila lang man ang malaking account sa bangko, kasama na ang current accounts at time deposit. At investment sa iba pang mga instrument yielding passive income gaya ng dividends at royalties. Bakit ba napakabilis nating magpasa ng mga batas na nagbibigay luwang at benepisyo sa mayayaman at higanting korporasyon? ngunit napakabagal kundi malang usad pagong para sa mga panukalang gaya ng magbibigay ng agaran at pangmatagalang economic relief. Panghuli, Mr. Speaker, nakakalungkot din na tatanggalin ng House Bill 4339 ng exemption sa tax interest income ng non-stock savings ng loan association sa Section 65. Nakaramihan ay nagbibigay ng benepisyo kasama na ang microfinance sa mga miyembro nito. Sa mga dahilang ito, Mr. Speaker, no ang boto ng representasyong ito.
Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we immediately transmit all the 4 bills approved on third and final reading during today's session, Mr. Speaker.
Is there an objection? The chair is done. Motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, last Wednesday, November 9, 2022, we adopted House Resolution number 530, resolution expressing the profound condolences of the House of Representatives to the family of Mr. Dani Morales Javier, lead vocalist of the Apo Hiking Society, a Filipino musical group in one of the pillars of original Filipino music, or OPM. I move, Mr. Speaker, for the consolidation of a similar measure, namely House Resolution number 532 with the adopted House Resolution number 530. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to consolidate House Resolution number 532 with the adopted House Resolution number 530. Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we adjourn today's session until tomorrow, November 15, 2022 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
There is a motion to adjourn. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the session is adjourned until tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, November 15, 2022.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock na ha, 3 o'clock na.
Recording stopped.
Picture.